Is the Snow White remake good? No, but you didn't click on this video because it's good. You clicked on this video because you want to watch me and Hunter talk about how bad it is in chronological order per song. I know, Hunter's laughing at my jokes because she never knows what I'm about to say. And so once again, Hunter is on the Calxiyn Cares Too Much channel, where we show you that it is in fact that deep, and it's fun, or at least in this case, it will be cathartic to talk about why, because I don't imagine we are going to have a lot of fun today. Now, before we get into this video is going to be a reaction, a review, and then right now our first impressions. So Hunter, what do you know about, first of all, the Snow White remake, and what are your feelings about the original Snow White? Because the viewers need some context. They've already seen me yelling for like a month now, so you go first.
I'm in my mid-20s.
Yes.
We both are. I feel like I should be more into Lilo and Stitch. I should be more into Milan. I should be more into that kind of later 90s, early 2000s
Yeah, the
Disney,
Renaissance.
And I never was. I have still not seen Lilo and Stitch.
Wait, you're talking about the original movies.
I
Oh,
have not yet.
I thought you meant I haven't been interested in the remakes, and I'm like, okay, like a reasonable person. No, you're saying you've never seen the animated Mulan?
No, I only saw the animated Mulan in my 20s with you.
Okay.
I missed that chunk. Weirdly, earlier Renaissance films and like the very, very early Disney films are what I grew up with.
So you're talking about like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, time skip, basically.
More Lion King. My big three as a kid, they were on rotation, was Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, good choice.
And then also, weirdly, like the Rescuers Down Under.
Yes.
And the original Snow White. So I have a certain amount of, like, warmth to the original Snow White. Obviously, the original Snow White is iconic, but it is also from the 30s. I'm going to say 30s, right. And it is kind of boring compared to, like, that's my understanding. I have not watched it since maybe I was a teenager, but my memory of it, it's rudimentary. It's like,
we're not slaying dragons, right?
Sure.
Like, we're just kind of, we're
it's
having
like
a goofy, fun time.
It's the prototypical Disney,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, it's like when you watch Psycho, the movie Psycho, if you've seen any thriller, any horror movie ever, you're gonna think it's horribly cliched, but it's not. It just invented all the cliches.
Yeah, exactly.
Snow White invented all the cliches. So it's a little bit boring. And for that reason, I think it was kind of like maybe a good target for these remakes. Because I don't like these remakes.
Yeah, no, I don't know anyone who likes them. I think that they are for people that are too embarrassed to like animation anymore.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, but I can't watch the old Aladdin because now I'm grown up, so I'll watch like whatever, the live action remake. That's just my opinion on it.
Because when they're bad, like The Lion King was actually awful. I'm offended by that movie. Because it was so visually boring. Because animals don't really,
you think of the colors,
photorealistic
right, of the scene,
wild cats don't emote very well compared to their animated counterparts. It was quite bad, which is a reoccurring theme. It's like, oh, so visually this is just kind of less interesting than the animation from 20 years ago, and then they add a bunch of stuff that is totally superfluous. It's like listening to a kind of bad cover of a song you love.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you want to listen to the cover again. It makes you want to go back and listen to the original.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel.
That's a good analogy,
I never want to even the Aladdin movie. That wasn't that bad. We saw that one in theaters together.
Yeah.
It's fine, but I'm never gonna watch it again. I'm gonna watch the original. But Mulan was interesting. It wasn't good, but at least tried something different.
And that's what my point is gonna be as we transition into, just in case you guys just suddenly got here and haven't seen a video of mine before. Fairy tales are meant to be retold, right? I have a big problem when people complain that, oh, well, the live action changed this and that, but they're not complaining out of the idea being bad, but just the semblance of change, like just the idea of changing anything being bad. fairy tales were supposed to resonate with the peasants of that particular time period. That's why there's like 700 different versions of Little Red Riding Hood. Not that many, but there's a lot, right? Cinderella, same thing. And so my issue is with people, there comes a point where the fairy tale is now supposed to resonate with us, the modern audience. And so you do need to add stuff that will resonate with the people at the time. And so having a story where like the evil queen is a tyrant and Snow White is taking the kingdom back, that makes a lot of sense to me. I really liked that idea when I heard that that's where they were going with it.
Yeah.
Now my problem is...
It's not the boring standard. They had room to like grow it, like
Yeah.
kind of like what they did with Mulan.
Or like Maleficent is a good example.
Maleficent was a good one.
And so,
I did like Maleficent.
but here's the problem,
Oh,
is
dear.
that Disney doesn't want to do that sort of Maleficent thing anymore. And so what we got was like a quilt of the original sewn onto like a cheap blanket from Shein, where they didn't want to change certain things because of marketing, because of branding, whatever, right? They want all of the credit of, oh, this is the original Snow White, but they also want to change things to appeal to the younger audience, and so no one is appealed to because the people that like the original Snow White don't like this, and then the people, even the people that thought the original Snow White was boring, are gonna walk into this and be like, well, this is just sort of a bloated, doesn't go anywhere sort of mess. Going into this, these are my problems, okay? So Hunter has context. Snow White is supposed to be a legit soprano. She is not a legit soprano anymore. They have erased the soprano. And I made a whole video about that in like the intersection with femininity and just this idea of like, well, why can't she be a legit soprano and save her people? Why do these ideas need to be incompatible with each other? It's a little sexist, honestly, to be like, oh, a woman is only strong if she fits into the standards of like a man, right? And it's always the dreams of the father, right? She's never like, oh, you know, my mother's dreams. It's always like with Asha and Snow White, it's always like my dad's dreams. I'm gonna fulfill the dreams of my dead dad. And I just realized that recently. I was like, okay, why is it always a man that they're like carrying on the legacy from? Why can't it be their mom? Anyway, so that's the first thing that I had beef with. Now, the second thing, and this is I think the most egregious, and this is what I want to talk about with Hunter before we get into our actual reaction and review of everything. So, Pasek and Paul. What do you know about Pasek and Paul before I launch into this for the...
Presumably they're a writing duo, and
Yes.
they're always writing duos. There's Bert and Bear, or Bert and Bees, or
Barlow
whoever
and
did...
Bear, Barlow
whoever
and
did whoever did Moana 2.
Not
and
Bert.
then there's the sort of...
Glenn Slater and Alan Menken now,
Yes,
but back in the
Glenn
day
and-
it was
yeah.
Alan Menken, Howard Ashman.
Yes,
But do you
thank you.
know what Pasek and Paul have done? Do you know?
No.
Okay.
I'm not a theater kid. I'm simply along for the ride.
Right. So, Pasek and Paul, but you've probably seen a Pasek and Paul. We'll talk
Okay,
about
well,
it
fine.
later.
Well,
so,
yeah,
okay.
tell
So,
me.
Pasek and Paul did a musical called Dogfight, which I think is very good. Hunter doesn't know that one. That's not what I'm talking about.
I love how
But
you immediately
they-
knew I wouldn't know, because
they
you're right,
had-
I did not.
Like, I think that their shows used to be good. So here's my beef.
Okay.
Pasek and Paul are best known for, I would say, Dear Evan Hansen and
Oh,
The Greatest
not
Showman.
Dear- Oh,
so that's
no.
where I was like, okay,
Oh, not
does
Dear
Hunter
Evan
know
Hansen.
that Pasek and Paul
I've
did
never
Dear
watched-
Evan Hansen?
I've never
You watched
watched-
the Jenny Nicholson video though, didn't you?
I did
You
watch
watched
the
the
Jenny
4-hour
Nicholson video. I did, and The Greatest I watched both of her videos on The Greatest Showman on that, and I trust Jenny Nicholson with my life.
Yeah.
And they look like
I
hot
love the
garbage.
horror on your face as we said
Oh.
that. So here's my problem: is that these two
Oh, man.
are ill-equipped to capture the original magic and the soundscape of the original Snow White and bring it into the modern age. I am not saying that like you can never make a contemporary musical and everything should sound like it came from exactly the 1930s, because I like contemporary musical theater. You know, I am like Frank Wildhorn's #1 defender. People in the theater industry hate him. I don't know why. And like I was listening to
His
Wonderland
horn's
the other
simply too wild.
Maybe. I was listening to Wonderland the other day, I Will Prevail, which I think is the Mad Hatter, one of her songs, and I was like, this is a pop rock ballad. Like, I just clocked in my brain, I'm like, this is basically a pop song, but with musical theater lyrics. But it's okay in Wonderland, because the entire point of Wonderland is a modern retelling of Alice in Wonderland when she is, I think that when she's grown up, right? And so, like, Frank Wildhorn type sound, or even Pasek and Paul type sound, it has its place. I'm not gonna go into
Mamma mia!
and be like, well, where's my jazzy trumpets or whatever. But the problem is, or at least my problem, and this is what what I think the problem is that when you are working with an established IP, you need to marry whatever, like the new composer's sound with the old sound. And I don't think that they married, I think they rewrote. And it's a shame because I feel like that, yes, musical theater should evolve, we need to make new things, try out new ideas that aren't like super traditional, but like, is this the time to really be doing that when instead we could be bringing this operetta music to a new generation, you know what I mean?
Snow White a rapping slave master.
Oh my god.
And then perhaps we could get a couple Tonys out. We could squeeze some Tonys out of this bad boy.
But yeah, do you know what I mean? It's just like, this is just not the time. This moment is not the time for Pasek and Paul to be, first of all, also doing something that they quite frankly have no experience doing. Yes, they are very experienced composers and lyricists, but they've never written a villain song before. I mean, Dear Evan Hansen.
Every song in Dear Evan Hansen is a villain song. He is the villain.
A traditional villain song. So I think that that's another problem here, is that they are just like ill-suited. They should not have chosen them. It baffles me, especially because, again, Snow White was supposed to be like mimicking operetta at that time, right? And so instead of introducing children to that style of music that has kind of fallen to the wayside in terms of like opera has priced people out, unless it's like really old rich people, they're not taking their children to go see the opera, right? That would have been something that you could only experience through a movie. And so it's just very unfortunate, and I feel like that even though it's not Pasek and Paul's fault that they were chosen, I have to scrutinize the choice, like, constantly. They should have done Wish, and that would have been fine, you know?
They chosen like it was, they were drafted to go to war.
Well, yeah, they kind of were,
Disney
right?
trenches.
So those are my two things, is that I don't like how they changed Snow White's singing voice, and I think the choice of Pasek and Paul is going to end up being very detrimental to Hunter and I's listening experience. All right, so now we're getting into our reaction portion, but I do want to say that in terms of us looking at and judging this whole soundtrack, what I'm looking for are two major things. Like, obviously, some of the lyrics are probably gonna suck and are wonky, but in terms of like the general overview, so we're not here all day, I'm looking for, especially in the opening number, what is the thematic question of the movie, and are all of the songs like filing under that thematic question somewhere? So if you guys have never seen my videos before, again, Hunchback, who is the monster and who is the man, right? Everything in the movie gets filed under that question. Everything in the movie is answering that question. Then obviously the songs have their own sort of question, like, oh, is Quasimodo gonna go out there or not? So I feel like that's a good thing to say right off the bat, especially for Hunter, who's not used to doing this. I mean, obviously, formulate your opinion without my influence of looking at things with these certain standards.
That's how I feel about music in general.
And then also, is this song so specific that I could not transplant it into another movie? So those are kind of the main things. And then obviously, last video, we talked about promise, progress, and payoff, which is sort of a novel term, but I kind of take it and I think that it applies to musicals too. So like, what is the promise at the beginning of the song? What is the progress? And what is the payoff? And I already know. Oh, I should have mentioned, I've already heard Waiting on a Wish and Princess Problems, because I had to do videos on them. But otherwise, I haven't heard anything.
Princess Problems?
I already know that there is no payoff in Princess Problems. And like, for example, but I won't spoil it for Hunter. I'll keep that to myself.
Princess Problems sounds like a really good Chappell Roan song.
Oh my god.
You know, like, if that was, like, I'd be down for that song.
I'm just thinking Pillow Princess. Oh, God. Okay, so are you ready? Just in case we do, like, upload this whole Unhinged thing on Patreon, let's try to go to the beginning. Okay, this is kind of interestingly Celtic.
Like, a little bit. What is, like, what's the origin of Snow White?
German.
Is it, like, German? Okay.
Yeah, so that's fun, okay.
This does not sound nearly Bavarian enough.
Come to know is immediately suspicious.
We've come to know. Did you colonize this place?
Okay, yeah, so hold on. I'm sorry, we have to pause. We're at 31 seconds. So that is the lyric that I was looking at it before Hunter came here because I was prepping and I was like, what do you mean on the home we've come to know? Like, do you just mean that whoever is singing, like, you just recently moved here? Or like, that this land was barren until you guys got here? So that, I thought that was hilarious. Like, immediately I'm like, what the fuck is that? Okay, hold on. on. Let's
One
go
more time
back.
from
One
the
more
top.
time. Because that was distracting. So this Celtic sort of vibe is in Waiting on a Wish. But I'm like, this is... It's hilarious because I usually love music like this, but it's just funny. Like, I think it's just funny, you know?
Like, if you wanted to go with Celtic, Adam, like, that's not a bad thing.
No,
that's a mood.
But it's just... I'm like, hello, JRPG. Like,
yeah, like, you know, the kids are on TikTok listening to, like, Get Out Ye Black and Tans. It's okay, we can do Celtic.
Okay, Kingdom for the Free and the Fair, that seems like a thesis establishment. And trusting good things grow is probably also. There are wonders to be found. I like this guy's accent.
Oh, I assume that's one of the
dwarfs, maybe?
Dwarfs,
Yeah.
yes.
There's a thing about the gems that I kind of have beef with that they weren't more important, but anyway. See, this isn't too bad so far.
This is generic.
Like, it's a little generic. Like, that was Greatest Showman. Like, they just ripped themselves off.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
like this. And, like, this OO thing is very pop song-esque, right?
In my head, I'm like, what would they be showing right now?
Just people dancing and doing work, I guess. I don't know. That's a good question, though, for us to think about. Like, the visuals should be in our head.
I imagine it's like the South Park movie where they're just like, quiet little white trash mountain town.
I think that this is Snow White's parents.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm excited for Rachel Zegler. I think she's great.
Well, this won't be her because this is a child. Okay. Okay. This is gonna become a problem later, but I'll keep it to myself. Okay, so these are the... Also, these are almost the exact same things as Mulan, by the way. They just added fair. I think it was fearless, brave, and true, but they just added... See, like, okay, like, we're starting in a kind of a good spot to establish the thesis, but I know what happens to the thesis.
In my head, I'm imagining the big tracks of, like, Disney CGI fields, and it's putting me in a sour mood.
Oh, man. Oh, sure, okay.
It's just like a wonderful, like, communist utopia.
With a royalty.
We live in, like, a communist agrarian utopia, and then Gal Gadot shows up, kicks everyone out. I don't know what happens.
Oh, man, I need a lozenge, guys. Hunter's killing my ass.
I'm trying really hard not to make the very obvious jokes about that.
I know. Okay, I think I will post the full thing on Patreon now that I'm thinking about it, because we're being funny.
Good for us. I don't know if humor's gonna survive this.
Okay, so...
That's like a...
We will return to this later, because obviously we need the context for how the question presented here gets answered through the entire movie. However, initial impressions, I'll go first so I can, lead Hunter into how we're gonna do this. So, this had some Greatest Showman stank on it. I do appreciate how different the instruments are. Like, they put the Celtic vibe in here, but, like, this
gentrified
is not...
Celtic vibe.
Yeah, like, this is not really comparing to, like, Belle. You know what I mean? And so I feel like, and this is the problem, this is gonna be a reoccurring problem with not just Pasek and Paul, but Disney right now, is that, yes, we need the emotional information, right?
Sure, yeah.
A song should ideally be a mix of emotion and plot, at least like the opening number. Some other songs get a pass, like the Old Man song who's just standing there and singing whatever. But like, when you think about Beauty and the Beast, it is, there goes the baker with his tray, like always, the same old bread and rolls to sell, right? She's not like, and here's the town I live in with my father, and it's all the same every day, right? Like, and so my problem with this is that, like, we got a lot of feelings going on, but we don't have a lot of, like, okay, well, how did you guys come here? How's the king advertising himself? Like, how did you know that this is a place where, like, good stuff happen? You know what I mean? Like, it's just everyone singing about how happy they are, whereas with Belle, you get what Belle thinks about the town, what the townspeople think about Belle. what Gaston wants in terms of with Belle and what Gaston wants in general. How people feel about Gaston, which is important for later when he has the mob song, because we need to understand how easy he is able to manipulate people. Hunchback is another great example of like, okay, this is how Frollo came into power, this is how the Romani are treated, this is how Quasimodo's mom died, this is how Frollo got guilted into keeping Quasimodo, this is what Frollo thinks Quasimodo will be useful for, right? So immediately, I'm like, I would have liked, like, how do we feel about the princess and the king and queen right now, so we could contrast that to later when Gal Gadot. The plot information to me is a little dubious in terms of this being an opening number.
It strikes me of being like, look at how lovely this place is, and then Gal Gadot shows up and ruins it. So I assume it's to set up for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I'm just like, but what makes it, because wonders to be found in the earth, that's not the monarchy that did that. Like, that's the earth. The land being fertile has nothing to do with the rulers being, like, is Snow White and her father and mother, like, are they working in the fields
but it's
amongst
also like,
people? You
but
know
they
what
also
I mean?
have their weird communism thing when they're like, we all give to each other.
Well, yeah,
right?
and so I don't know, I would have liked
like
something.
more about community. Right now, it really does feel like,
because when you're talking about how great a place is, that has nothing to do with the people that live there. You know what I mean?
you're talking about how much you like the farmlands,
the
soil.
And it would be like the king and queen, they come down and they tend to the fields just like we do. Like, something like that would have been like, oh, okay, so it's not just the fact that the land has good shit in it, it's also the idea of everybody pitching in to make something maybe out of a place that was once, like, barren or something.
It's a little generic.
Yeah, and so that's my...
And it does just remind me of that song from the South Park musical. Of like,
Which
you
is
have not
hilarious.
seen, listen, you have your fancy, I have South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. And it feels like, oh yeah, this is what they were making fun of.
Yeah, and so, like, this
of
is
like
just a
the
little...
lovely generic introducing you to this town type deal.
Yeah, it's just, we're a little generic at this current moment. I don't need that much plot. I just want, like, ever since the queen, who used to be a peasant, married the king, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, right? Like, one of us was able to whatever, and they fell in love, and that's why the town's so great, because we all have mutual understanding. The peasant married the king, whatever. Sophia the First, but, like... now what's interesting is that we have this make-a-wish for who you want to be, so this is the parents to Snow White. She's like, all I see is water, like, what the fuck? But they encourage her to, plant the seed of someone who will lead and make the good things grow. Now, this is an interesting thesis. However, as someone who already did a video on Waiting on a Wish, I don't want to spoil it for Hunter, but we will find out how this fucking, like, devolves. I'm gonna give this a 5. Like, this is not as bad as Wish's opening number, but am I gonna remember? If you, like, quizzed me 10 minutes later on what the melody was, the only thing I remember is good things grow. And, like, that's because it was already, like, greatest showman vibe. Like, you know what I mean? Am I gonna remember any of this? No.
I feel like halfway through trying to sing this song, I would start singing a Mumford and Sons song.
What does that mean?
Mumford and Sons? Just like, because it's like, I see
what you're saying.
Like, I would start singing that one song by Fun. And like, because the only thing I can remember is the uh-ohs. And it just sounds like kind of jangly, early 2010s millennial, like, barncore music.
That's another thing that briefly we'll talk about, and I will probably bring up if I do a video just about on this song. Oh is a very aggressive pop music convention.
Yeah.
You don't see that in musical theater, because in theater, when someone says, oh, it is like anguish, it's that Shakespeare, like, whoa, sort of, right? Exactly. So my problem is that sometimes you see it, right? Hadestown has la 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 la, but the point of that is that that's the forgotten song that Orpheus doesn't know the words to. And so that is a acceptable pop song-esque, but, like, there's an actual narrative purpose for why he's singing the words, because he doesn't know the words. If you're gonna use oh, you need, like, a reason why they're just saying oh instead of singing words. And I don't see a good justifiable sort of reason in here. They're just kind of
like,
hanging
the
out.
earth is so plentiful, they just gotta about it.
Yeah, and so it's not like the worst usage. I've seen songs that have done it more egregiously.
That's a 5 out of 10 in that it's right down the middle.
Yeah.
Not really offensive one way or the other.
Like, they tried, but they could have tried a little harder. Let's move on. So this is a Villagers reprise. What does that mean?
Oh, something bad happens, presumably.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hi, Rachel.
No, not yet.
I'm waiting.
Oh, okay, so that's not
Something
good.
must have happened.
Will we find it again? How I wish I could go.
Okay. I mean, this is like
I like this kind of improves on the
cliche
previous
Disney, yeah.
one. Yeah. But also, like, the Snow White is the Disney cliche, so
Yeah,
leaning in
yeah.
on that, I think, works.
Oh no, I like that. The problem is that you'll start to notice that they only ever do that when people aren't singing, which I
Yeah.
think is hilarious, that they only do like the Disney sound when no one is singing like underneath it. It's like, I said this in one of my videos, it's like someone tried to make it Disney, but then they got thrown into the dungeon like every time someone noticed, because it only happens like in the instrumental sections. But I do like that instrumentation. The rest of it was a little... See, but this is what I mean. So now the villagers have opinions, and that's what I was kind of missing, because obviously they had opinions about the land, but like this is what I meant like when I said that the other song was kind of just like, they're just talking about stuff, whereas this is like clearly the golden sky is gone, and they clearly feel sad about it. So I'm assuming what happened is that the evil queen comes into power, and
kicks
now,
them all out,
like,
or makes
I think
everything
it's
shit?
everything's gray and like shitty. I think that that's what it's supposed we're going for here. So the problem is that having a reprise would have been slightly more impactful if we had more information in the last song, in terms of like if Snow White was beloved.
It is a
and then-
movie and not an album, so I guess there's probably some visuals. I'm sure she shows up and...
But that's not what I mean. I mean, like, if they were like, and the princess is so lovely and everyone loves her. Like, this is something that the Frozen musical does, where people like love Anna and Elsa and they play in the village and it's all very fun. And then the villagers are like, well, where did Anna and Elsa go? Right after Elsa and Anna get locked up in the castle.
Sure.
So what I would have liked is if the people were like, and Snow White is so, you know, nice and fair and like she's such a cute kid, whatever. And now if Snow White is locked up, they would have a comment about, oh, you know, when will our princess return to us? What the fuck is going on in there?
Sure.
So that's my only sort of thing.
I mean, I think it plays off nicely from like the song we just heard.
Yeah.
Of like the contrast between generic happy to kind of generic sad. I like that. You know, it bumps up. That's a 5.5.
Yeah.
I think it bumps up a little for me.
But I don't really have anything else to say because we need to see.
That is also one
like how this plays into the rest of the movie. Okay, so this is interesting. So waiting on a wish happens after.
So you know this
one.
one.
Yeah, because I did a whole video
you
about
already
this.
They already know your feelings about it.
Yeah, and I'll probably say them again because not everyone has seen everything I've ever done, but I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna shut up and not lead the witness too much.
Sure.
A little bit. This is a 5-minute song too, by the way, but the Vivo version of this song cut at a very unfortunate spot for like literally no reason.
Cal,
and
I don't know how to tell you this, but this movie has like a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. The witness has already been led.
I know, but I don't want to give away what my problem is.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, we already know about my belting, like, that they made her sound like Sutton Foster, but, like, there's a bigger problem in terms of the stuff I talked about earlier. Oh, I should have said play. It's okay. You guys will see on screen what the time code is at if you're watching on Patreon. Damn, you are a sleepy bitch today. It's putting you to sleep.
Bed. I like Rachel Zegler a lot.
Yeah, her voice is nice. It's too bad they don't let her use it to its full capacity, but...
Oh, is that why she's Snow White in this one?
Yeah.
She survived a thing of snow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love how you say a thing of snow. Like, just a bunch of snow.
We're Canadian. It's just a thing now. Blizzard, whatever. All out in the wash with us.
Hoping somehow, some way, I'll become my father's daughter. I close my eyes.
I see the gears in Hunter's brain turning, like she may know, like, what I'm complaining about.
Is she a part of me? I've yet to find.
I need to figure out if this comparison's like ridiculous or not. So I'm gonna wait till I hear it. Till I blurt out who I think she kind of sounds like here.
Okay.
She tries to be someone
I did like the instrumental here.
Yeah, it feels like Brave. Like,
yeah, it does.
Right? Like it like just kind of like, you know, it's nice.
Will she lead or just
I could see someone like passionately singing this as they traipse around a medieval tavern.
Yeah.
Where the bard plays on their little bard influence, their lyre, their lute.
And as the silver sky stops,
Yeah, I'm gonna...
the walls behind
okay.
me.
There is
Waiting on a
definitely...
wish, holding out for someday.
So this is the I Want song.
Yeah.
And the I Want song is the most generic I Want song. It's please God, I'm so goddamn bored in this podunk town. Please fucking something happen.
We'll talk about that. We have to keep going.
I like that.
That was nice.
Ooh, that
Vocally.
was and the bot, you know.
Waiting on a wish. They say all
Ooh.
you have to do.
I like how it switches up.
Make your wish come true.
Has some like locomotion to it. Not bad.
I did not like that, though. I don't like the fake echoing.
It's generic. It's just, it's a little like, you know.
See, so this is where the nice, like, Disney-esque instrumental came in
Yeah.
when she's not singing.
I don't know. I like.
I mean,
the
it was nice
instrumental.
before, too, but, like, that section I really liked, and then it just went away. It was sad.
I feel really bad for whatever like high school like talent show like
Oh,
has to deal
man.
with like 3 girls doing this song.
Yeah, it's gonna be popular, I think, with, like, vocal students.
Yeah, because
but
it's just like generic enough to like, you know, it's. Someone pointed this out to me when I was like a teenager.
Speaking with a fearless heart. Someone who just
That
might
like
be
if you listen to a lot of like, I first heard about it when it was the One Direction song Little Things.
Oh.
And it was about how if you really pay attention to it, it's this incredibly generic song
Mm-hmm.
that like, oh, they're talking about a girl, but like what kind of girl? Does she have
Right,
attributes?
right.
Does she have a
The
name?
Bo Burnham blue
It's like,
eyes,
it's
brown
the Bo,
eye,
it's
like, blue,
before
gray,
Bo Burnham
gray.
made that joke of like, I love your hands because your fingertips are like no other. I like your eyes and they're bluish, brownish, greenish color. Like,
Yeah.
like they pointed before that song came out. It was pointed out to me that like, yeah, it's generic, so you can kind of just like, when you listen to that song, you can think like, oh yeah, I want a boy. That's what I want, a boy to like me. So
Yeah.
here's this generic song about a boy liking literally any girl. This is like that, but for a girl who wants to get out of whatever
Yeah.
situation.
So,
Do you want to
do you
do a
want to
thing
know
specific?
where the Vivo version ended?
Where?
Right there. But I'm still waiting here.
Was that
Cut.
after the like strumming up and the kind
Yeah.
of dramatic? Okay.
So we did not get the end of the song where she talked about what she actually
Yeah.
wanted in the Vivo.
Anyways.
Which I was like, what the fuck were they thinking?
It strikes me as like, it's like if you don't like your mom and you want to get out of your town and you don't like high school, other songs will do that story, but they'll be specific about it,
Yeah.
right? They'll be like, you want to go like Pink Pony Club, not to bring up Chappell Roan
Sure,
twice.
no, go for
That's
it.
specific. It's like,
Yeah.
I want to get out of Tennessee and I want to go to a gay bar and be a
I
go-go
love it.
dancer.
I mean, it's an I Want song.
But that is an I Want song that is very specific.
Yeah.
And I can get behind that, right? This is an I Want song that's very generic.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be someplace here, literally any other place, but they just won't come out and say that. That would almost be
Yeah.
more earnest and funny.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, I like it, the instrumental. I like the build-up and, like,
That
the horns.
was my favorite part, but then I hated the echo. Because,
Yeah.
like, in the
I
movie,
wish
it
they
comes
had-
from the well.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, now we know that she's not singing in an environment, and you just told us that because you can hear how it was overproduced in the studio
Yeah,
it is.
I wish they had something more cutting to the vocals instead of the echo. I liked the echo.
Yeah.
Like, I think people might like that maybe more than I did, but I wish there was something, like, punchier about it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to feel like she's running through some trees and then she, like, runs out into, like, an open field
Yeah,
and she
like,
spins around
Alphaba
with her
almost,
arms
right?
out. Yeah.
But
But it doesn't quite feel like it gets there.
it's funny you say that because that was like my idea was instead of having the wishing well at the palace, why not have it in the forest and Snow White sneaks out to go wish there? Because then that would give her a bit more agency if she sneaks out of the palace every once in a while to go to the well that her and her father went to. So I am going to give the Cliff Notes version of why I think that this song is bad, other
Okay.
than the generic part, okay? So
Because I don't think this song is bad. I'm just like, okay,
well,
it works.
it's not bad, like, in like, for you to listen to in your life.
I'm sure
But
if
for
my
the
daughter sang
musical-
this at the school talent show,
Yeah.
I'd tear up and be very
And,
proud.
like, that's the problem, is that if a song is good, but it's only good when you remove all of the context from it, it's not a good musical theater
well, there's also
song,
just
right?
kind of no context. Like,
well,
it doesn't
yeah,
really tell
so
much of a story.
Here's what I was saying. So first of all, I switched two sections.
There's a lot of emojis here.
So this is how it's laid out, right? Like, as we heard it. So what I did was I switched it like this. We have, so will she rise or bow her head after the stone, right? I long to leave the walls behind me. There comes a miracle to find me. So this is about disobeying the queen and leaving now, whereas this is about becoming her father's daughter, because that concept makes more sense after talking about the kingdom. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Somehow fairness is long forgotten. Should be follow up with, oh, my father's the one who, like, put the things of fairness, and now he's gone. And so this is just a little bit like, it's not bad, but, like, this premise does not pay off in the correct way versus switching them was the first thing. So that was, like, you know, a little thing. If we just switched them around, they would make more sense, like, what the pre-course is supposed to lead it into, because it would be like, on one hand, do I leave this place, right, and just abandon my subjects? No, my father told me to be this, and whatever, right? So now I need to become
Back
my
up
father's
and-
daughter, right? And so I switched that around. So here's my other thing, okay? So they want to girl bossify Snow White, right? They
Which-
want her to be a leader. They
That's
want her
a
to be your father's
reoccurring
daughter.
theme of the Disney movies,
Yes.
is shoehorning the girl bossedness.
But
They
is
did it to Jasmine, they did
So-
it here.
at the end, we have someone who can finally start speaking with a fearless heart, someone who just might be brave, someone no one needs to save. Well, guess I suck. I'm just waiting on a wish. So my problem is that yes, like in a vacuum, it's just like, oh, you know, the Disney princess who's waiting for whatever, right? But like, even Ariel is a bit more decisive in terms of like, what would I give? What would I pay? Like Quasimodo has that, like, what I'd give just for one day out there. So I'm like, okay, so we just went on this whole journey about how you're wishing that you could change things. And instead of it being heroic and triumphant like Quasimodo deciding to go out there, you just ended sadly like every other Disney princess song. And not only was it sad, you just went, oh, well, everything I talked about, I don't know how to do it. Oh, well, I'm still waiting on a wish. That really bothered me. And I was trying not to lead Hunter too much on that, because upon first listening, it's something that like people probably wouldn't think about too much. But like, when you think about it in the context of what this movie is supposed to be, girl bossifying Snow White, at least in the original Snow White was like, I'm wishing for the person I love to come see me, right? Very, very clear. But like, she's wishing that the circumstances change without saying what she would do to change the circumstance. Like, why do you need a wish? Are you wishing for the courage to start speaking with a fearless heart? Like, you could be doing that right now. Do you need an inciting incident? Like, what exactly are you wishing
yeah,
for?
like the
you
I
know?
Want song is like, I wish the reorganization would like make it less generic. I think it would improve it.
But yeah, I'm just mad that it ended sadly, because with Pocahontas, Mulan, like, they all tend to end in that sort of like sad, depressio sort of
'Cause
way.
it's like, but like,
right?
well, that's your starting point.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
then you become the competent
Exactly.
person that
But my
takes
problem
out
is
the
that
evil
the
queen.
men always get out there with the brass and the hunting horns like Quasimodo and Hercules, and the women have historically not gotten that until Moana, and I guess Tiana and Princess and the Frog. So I'm like, so you want to girl boss Snow White, but you did like the opposite of girl boss, because all this time I'm listening and I'm like, oh, so she's gonna say, well, I can hear the echo loud and clear and it's calling me far away from here. I'm done waiting on a wish. Like, it is today. Like, that's what I was expecting in terms of the progress that the song was making. I was expecting, I'm still waiting here. Fuck that. I don't want to wait anymore. I'm gonna go out there. I am gonna be my father's daughter. Fuck the queen. I'm gonna go outside. And then she didn't do that. That bothers me. But what do you think about that? Because you didn't seem to have that issue in its immediacy. But like,
it just felt like, yeah, reorganizing it, I think, draws the attention. I do think it suffers being taken out of context of the film.
yeah.
You'd probably get the better impression that this is about like wishing you could take on the queen.
Yeah.
But I almost like, if that's what it is, say the words. Be
Yeah.
specific.
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
another problem I had. So somehow fairness is long forgotten. It's not somehow, bestie. You know how. Like, the evil queen is the one who did it. And so it's just this weird sort of like vague, like you're not addressing the problem.
It's going back to the vagaries where it's just like, yeah, like out of context, this is gonna work for people because it'll just be like
whatever
a song
problem
they listen
you're having
to,
in your life.
Yeah, a song they listen to where anyone can project anything they wish would change about their life.
Yeah.
Any situation they would want out of.
Which
is
wrote
fine for
down
One
another...
Direction, but I would think a little higher of Disney.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I used to.
I don't think I wrote it down here, but if I remember, so what I rewrote, wicked queen on a stolen throne, with her heart set as hard as stone, she proclaims that this world is rotten, my father's fairness was long forgotten. So, like, that gave us insight into, like, the queen saying, this world sucks, we... step on other people to get ahead, whatever. And so instead of it being about her, she's now turning her attention onto the queen and why the queen sucks, which I feel like this is not adequately conveying the suckage of the queen. And so, like, I really want to, like, redo, like, a cover of this song where I change the ending to be happier and just switch the verses and rewrite some things. I'm also kind of mad that they didn't mention, like, the fearless, brave, and true thing, because I don't even know if we need this information about her braving the storm. I think I changed this to, my father told me through and through to stay fair and brave and true, will that fearless girl he knew give in, and then it's like, oh, can I become my father's daughter, right? Because, like, this thing about the snow is just to justify to, first of all, people that are acting in bad faith anyway. Like, why are you trying to justify to the racist people why she's called Snow White? We don't need a lyric where you're trying to appeal to that. You know what I mean?
There was that, song in the Little Mermaid remake about how, the scientific reasons why a mermaid would have melanin.
Yeah, so do you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, like, make this about her father and what her father actually told her to stay fearless, brave, and true. What are we doing with that?
Yeah.
So, like, it's not as bad as Wish, but I'm left disappointed because you told me I would get a girl boss, and I did not get a girl boss. I got a downgrade from the princesses that we already had.
Well, all of the girl bosses, like, the remade girl bosses are kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like, Jasmine has a whole song about how she's gonna talk, and then she only says it in her head.
Yeah.
Which is, like, the most stupidest
And this song's
tone-deaf,
like that
ridiculous.
too, if you look at the visuals. So she's singing and no one can hear her. The guards just walk past her. They don't give a fuck. She's just cleaning in the castle. I understand what you're saying. In a vacuum, it's not a bad song. But, like, in the context of a musical and in the context of my expectations, I'm really disappointed. Like, I would say, again, a 5, sort of a middling,
So did they write the plot for Dear Evan Hansen?
I don't know about that, but that is
Okay.
something that we've talked about in private, but I made a video on, in terms of, like, the songwriters are just told, song go here. And so they can't write, oh, Snow White says fuck the queen and sneaks out of the
Okay.
palace if the screenwriters don't let
Because
them. So I think that's a part of a major
if the plot
problem,
of this
right?
movie is going to be half unhinged as the plot of Dear Evan Hansen, then goddamn are we
But,
in
like,
for some
you
stuff.
bring up a good point, because if they're not allowed to make Snow White go out of the castle, she can't. Even though that, like, logically, that is the most logical thing to do in this circumstance, is have her be like, fuck that, I'm going outside. Have her go outside and have the queen get mad at her. And then that leads into why the queen hunts her down. Like, Snow White does something nice to the people. She's now the fairest of them all,
I gotta
whatever,
be totally
you know?
honest with you. Now that you mention it, I'm only now aware that Snow White was in a castle the entire time.
Yeah,
So they're not being, you'd think
can't
you'd have
go
a song
anywhere.
about how, like, I'm locked in this fucking castle.
Yeah, and I mean,
Let
she
me
talks about
out.
that in the beginning, like, feeling trapped. You're also not feeling trapped, you are trapped.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I don't think I talked about before, but yeah. Like,
Also, a wall is, like, often a metaphor people use. You know, like, you're locked behind walls. That's a metaphor.
I mean, I guess she's trapped behind the palace walls, but, like...
So, like, but I'm just saying, without any more specifics, just listening to it, like, watching the movie, you'd put 2 and 2 together. The song, on its own, you're like, oh, I assumed that was a metaphorical wall.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
maybe
a literal,
it's both, but...
she's in actual battlements
But
and
that's
walls
my-
around it.
Like, that's
castle.
my biggest issue, is, like, just... just make her go outside. Like, it wasn't that hard. Like, that's how you fix all this, is just have her go out and do something nice, and then she becomes the fairest of them all. But that gets into, like, well, how much control do Pasek and Paul have? But even in that front, they know better than to write a song that has no payoff. They could have at least had, I'm gonna go talk to my mom, because that's something that Snow White actually does in the scene that comes after this, is that she scolds the evil queen, you know, we should do something nice for the people. So the fact that they didn't even include, I'm gonna give my stepmom a stern talking to be the ending, like, that just baffles me. Okay, wait a second, so the dwarfs are just coming in. Well, this is just kind of a redone version of, like, a song we already know. Do we wanna, like...
I mean, I'm down for it, because this is the song I remember the most.
This is funny, because this is not exactly... So, we're checking in with the dwarfs just kind of randomly.
So
like,
wait,
by the way...
This isn't Heigh-Ho. Heigh-Ho.
No, it is.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because it's off to work we go. They're going to work. I just think this is funny because it's like, oh, there's all this political shit happening at the palace. Let's go check on the dwarfs that we haven't even met yet. Because we only meet them, basically, when Snow White enters their house.
Much like the children, the dwarves crave the mines.
Oh my god.
And they're just happy.
Oh, I'm
Swift,
sorry. Okay, before we start, so the dwarfs hate each other, and they only live together out of necessity in this version of the movie. And they all have, like, dickish banter to each other, and Snow White tries to teach them the power of friendship.
Okay, 2 questions.
Yeah?
Well, a statement and a question. 1, I just always assumed they were in a polycule. Even as a kid, I thought they
were just, like, friends.
Yeah, even as a kid, I was just like, oh, I guess they just, like, no, they just like each other a whole lot. Right. I don't know. And then, do they do Dopey? Because can you get away with Dopey?
But I think they make him talk at the end, which I find to be a little, like, insulting. In the same way that, like, I wouldn't want Neo from Ruby to talk. So, like, the encouragement isn't Dopey, you're fine as you are. It's like, Dopey, no, you need to learn to speak up for yourself. And I think that's sussy. We talked about that in the Discord server about how that's a
supportive group of dwarfs that they all like their non-verbal autism. Yeah, I'm sure they call him Dopey, but...
Now they hate him and they bully him, which is not nice.
Because, like, the big controversy of this movie was kind of blocked out the smaller controversy of do you have dwarfs play the dwarf? Right.
So, can I say something about that just while we're here? I feel like that Peter Dinklage was taken wildly out of context. At least, to me, what he was saying was, why can't the prince be played by an actor with dwarfism? Like, why not? Why? So I think that his problem was that dwarfs are always dwarfs, instead of like, well, why can't Snow White fall in love with a prince who is short? You know what I mean? And so that's like... I think that he got taken super out of context. He was never saying that nobody should play the dwarfs. He was just saying, well, why is it always dwarfs?
I also think that he took issue with the idea of dwarfs being like a fantasy race.
Yeah.
That, which is what I heard.
Yeah.
But like
and so
a lot of
something. Yeah. Well, like, why not have, well, we'll talk about the prince. There's no prince in this movie, but
I understand both sides. I understand the side of like, hey, we're working actors and those are jobs that you kind like that we're taking away from working actors.
But I think the point he was making wasn't even like dwarfs shouldn't exist in this movie.
Yeah,
it was just that they needed to be modernized, and like, why can't you have other characters in the village just have dwarfism and have that be a normal thing, right?
Because in Tyrion Lannister, he plays a dwarf in a fantasy setting.
Yeah.
Which is obviously just a person with dwarfism as we have in our sort of real world, and it's a very compelling character until, of course, Game of Thrones happened. I do think he was taken. I agree with you that I think he was taken out of context.
But yeah, let's get into how they.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
It's not the worst part of the movie.
No, the worst part is yet to come. Like, I think people are watching for a very specific reaction, and we'll get there. So.
I have, and this is going to date me a little bit, as a child, a VHS.
Yeah.
It was a Disney sing-along VHS.
Aww.
It had, like, songs from Fantasia, from, like, all the
Sing-along for Fantasia? There's no songs in
Or no, they had, like, well, not a sing-along, but they had, like, the Mickey Mouse.
Maybe?
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse one. And then they had songs from, like, Old Yeller and this song from the...
I can't say I remember what the original lyrics were.
So I do remember the original lyrics-ish, and this definitely feels different.
Yeah, Don't You Shut It, Grumps, I feel like was not in the original. That was to show that they hate each other.
And it feels like they definitely expanded upon it. Here's the thing, this is what I kind of mentioned. Oh, he's sleepy.
Oh. Okay.
I'm sleepy. Yeah, we know. Talk the less we want. Let's go. Heigh-Ho.
Oh, so they're magical. Oh.
This is new, yeah.
So, the other people know that there's stuff in the mountains, but they can't find it, only the dwarfs can find it? And we're not gonna talk about that? That's weird that they make them have magical powers after whatever.
You know what, maybe,
Peter Dinklage.
at a point, magical
Well,
short
they made
people.
them magical! They weren't originally magical!
Yeah, they were
Like-
just fellas, you know? They were just the boys.
I'm happy. Yeah, we know.
See, like, they all hate each other! I hate this!
He's happy.
Like,
I kind of want to watch the original now. Again.
Like, I'm kind of pissed that they made the dwarfs like this. Like, this is annoying.
This is from the
Why
original.
can't men like each other? Like, what's the problem?
Yeah, I remember them having, like, being like, oh, dopey. Like, it was, like, not mean-spirited, though.
Yeah, like, this is mean. I don't like that. I think the instrumentation is actually fine, though. I will say that, like,
Yeah.
this is what but the problem is that they didn't carry this through the rest of the movie, because this is
there it
very
is.
nice,
Disney
right?
magic.
You know? Like, if the whole movie was orchestrated this way, I wouldn't have so many fucking problems, but it's not, so... You know what I'm saying, Hunter?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Oh, we're still going.
Yeah, yeah.
Heigh-Ho.
The boys just really gotta sing. There's a lot. This is the longest lyrics sheet ever, and it's just
Yeah, I know,
Heigh-Ho
right?
again, and then occasionally it's Heigh-Ho, Heigh-Ho, like next to each other, but then otherwise it's just long stacked, seemingly at random.
Okay, but would they know the word fortissimo is my...
Listen, just because they're short and they're singing,
No, I'm
and
just-
one of them's dopey.
Well, it's because they don't have any manners, and so I'm like, I question... Maybe if it was Doc, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, everyone was nice except for the one guy who was mean.
Yeah,
Oh, he was grumpy.
that was a nice harmony. I like that. Okay.
Don't you want to just, like, go
I
work
know.
in the mines?
Exactly. I actually think that that was a nice modernization. That felt very Disney Renaissance-y to me.
Here's
You know what I mean?
I also liked it, but here's, like, kind of getting to my problems that I mentioned earlier with these movies.
Right.
Listening to that just makes me want to listen to the original.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And,
make
like,
me want to listen to this version again.
I think that making them all mean to each other is kind of shitty. Like, I just think that it sucks.
it's just
'Cause,
Grumpy
like,
who's grumpy.
I
Everyone
don't
else
know.
is.
Like, it just comes off. We will talk more about men later because there is a more egregious man than this. But, like,
Okay.
the entire point of the dwarfs was that they were, like, nice men who were just sort of, like, not taking care of themselves because they were tired and they didn't have time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But this makes them sort of, like,
They got-
immature man
They
children
got,
who
like,
are mean
Queer
to
Eyed
each
for
other.
the Straight Guide
Yeah.
by Snow White, and it's
so,
just
like,
a good time.
This
you know?
kind of sucks because now it's like, well, she's babysitting these Peter Pan-esque man children.
I don't know
And
if it's
isn't that
that
kind
bad.
of like, well, isn't that kind of shitty that, like, now they're worse than they were before? Because if people's problem was like, oh, well, Snow White she's, like, mothering all these men, and that's not very girl boss. I'm like, well, this is more mothering than the original dwarfs, because not only does she have to sort out their behavior, but also their attitude towards each other now, which is an added hardship. I'm saying this because I know that outside of this song, it gets worse, because I've heard, like, people talk about it that have seen the movie. So, like,
Okay.
in this song, the little jabs aren't that bad, but I
Yeah.
know that it only gets worse from here, and I don't like that. I think that's sad. Just
Yeah.
have some nice men in the woods. Like, why do you have to introduce
the
another
boys.
conflict that they all hate each other? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's my issue. It's like, this isn't bad, but it's like, you know, a little more bloated, and it kind of just makes me want to watch the original, which is like the issue that these movies seemingly can't really avoid.
But I'll give this a 6 because I like how they did the instrumentation.
This is a 6.
It just sucks that I don't know what the composition like was allowed to do. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, well, why don't the other songs have like that jazzy Broadway? It's unfortunate because I'm like, yes, this is the tone that the rest of the movie should have gone for in terms of its instrumentation. Like, we're modernizing it a little bit so it's more Broadway as opposed to opera, but we haven't entirely Pasek and Paul the music. But it's just sad that the rest of the movie does not carry through. Now, this is where, like, I think that people in the video are watching just to see what we think about
Gal
this.
Gadot? Okay.
Yeah, this is Gal Gadot's
So have
song.
you've heard this?
I have not heard it, no.
Okay, but you've heard her
I
sing.
know that she's bad.
I've not
like,
heard
I know
her
she's
sing.
bad, but I
Gal
haven't heard
Gadot
the
can't
extent.
act.
No.
This is why Gal Gadot is a famous actress.
Right.
Because Zack Snyder cast her as Wonder Woman.
Yes.
And she looks a lot like Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally it.
Well, also, what I think is...
And the first Wonder Woman movie was fine. Like, it benefited from being kind of pop feminist at a time where people really wanted pop feminist early in the first Trump administration. And, like, it was a decent movie with, like, a recognizable 3-act structure and one good action scene in it. And Chris Pratt, who's wonderful.
Also my thing,
That's
okay?
why she's famous. Why she's done literally anything else is beyond me. Why they put her in this movie, I think I'm about to be shocked.
Character actors are, like, dead, by the way. Like, character acting is not really a thing anymore.
No.
Actors get cast as themselves. The Rock, Jack Black, right? Even Chris Pratt, sorry. Even him. A lot of other Marvel actors are just kind of like that. It's not to say that they aren't, like Tom Holland, for example, did other things before Spider-Man, but like Tom Holland is kind of also Spider-Man, so that's what I mean. So this is why theater actors and then film actors have a lot of beef with each other, because theater actors will say that character actors do not like exist anymore, and you get typecast
Did I say
as
Chris
who you
Pratt
are.
or did I say Chris Evans?
I don't know which
Chris
one you said.
Evans, I will defend.
Chris
Pratt
Evans
does kind of play a version
act.
of himself every time.
So, yeah, like that's... So I think that with Gal Gadot, we'll decide on how to pronounce her name later, with her, I think that what lended itself was that her awkward sort of demeanor lended itself to Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman, like, lived on an island. She's basically, like, a mix of Tarzan, but then also the girl from Barbie and the Island Princess, were, like, still, like,
everyone knows
civilized, but obviously, like, Amazon. Do you know what I mean? Like,
also,
she lived apart from society.
Also, people's favorite part of that movie was the beginning, where, like, Wonder Woman was played by a little girl and not her.
That's funny.
So there's that. And also, in every other DC movie she was in, she was terrible.
But yeah, do you know what I mean? And so, like, she got that for free in a sense, like how we say, oh, Cal gets, like, child for free. Like, I look like I could be an orphan in a musical right now, right? So the problem is that I think that people thought that her acting was good in Wonder Woman because they thought she was acting, but she's not acting, she's just like that. And so that's, like, the immediate problem. And also, she can't sing in a musical. Now, I believe that in a musical, only theater actors should be cast. Like, Ariana Grande in Wicked, good. Cynthia Erivo, good. Some people brought up that they could have dubbed over her voice, which I guess they could have, but I think that, like, because, you know, people's argument was like, oh, well, it's a film, it's not theater, so if you want to do that stuff, like, you can. It's a perk of the medium. I find it offensive that you cast people who can't sing in a musical, and I would have found it more offensive if they dubbed her over, right? This way we can see how terrible she is just as herself and wonder why she got the role, you know what I mean? We're gonna hold hands? All right. I also have a prediction that, unfortunately, this is going to be probably the best original song in the movie, but she's gonna be the one singing
and they handed it off to the capable hands of
the lyrics are probably gonna be good, and, like, it's kind of gonna cook, but, like, I need Anna Pantsu to, like, rescue us and do a song cover, because... Anyway, so let's just... Yeah, that was very theater-y. Like, this feels reacting to something.
Hiccup. Someone made a little mess.
Okay.
This sounds
We're
sultry.
starting so good. We're starting so good, guys.
The treatment for a traitor. This craven coward of a man.
That was not sung with... Like, she sounds sick. She can't put the power in the...
Because, well, I can.
Oh no, Hunter. This would fuck if it wasn't her. I'm pretty sure it would.
If someone could handle the sultry that she's trying to do.
That's weird, too. Like, that doesn't make sense for this character.
If they dare speak up, so what them down.
That was weird.
Yeah, so the immediate problem is that she's not putting power in the notes. Like, she's just doing this weird whispery, sultry voice, and that's not... See, that's a good fucking... the trumpets! Fuck, man. Oh, no. Oh, no.
In fact, I find it quite amusing telling me
I kind of like that, but not her singing it.
You know, ambitious girls must be vicious girls, and boy, they have fun.
Girl boss.
Oh, Hunter, this is so sad.
It's a good song.
Yeah, that's the problem! Oh, God. Like, I'm just like, fuck, this song may actually be good.
On a whim, I can bring the world to its knees.
Like, I actually like the instrumentation. Oh, boy. I'm so, like, I feel so dead inside right now, like, at this revel. Like, this is what I was afraid of, that the song would kind of fuck, but...
It is a good song.
But she's not singing it well. Like, she's not singing it. Oh, God.
That wasn't quite there, I don't think. I'm so hot, I take over the world. Sure. Ooh, I like the background screeching. I mean, if the idea is to have someone who's incredibly attractive, like as they're explaining in the song, like, I'm so hot I take over the world. Say what you will about Gal Gadot as a person and as a performer, they are very attractive. So I guess that's believable.
It's gonna be me that you declare.
Oh, dear. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, guys.
Okay, so
Oh,
controversial
man.
opinion, I don't think that's that bad.
No, I think the song is carrying
I think the song,
her
maybe
a
it's just
lot.
a song, that the song is very good.
Yeah.
That, like, it's carrying her. Here's the thing, I don't think she's the best you could have got.
No, absolutely not.
Rachel Zegler, I feel really bad for Rachel Zegler.
Yeah.
Because when she's good, she's not popular.
Right.
Like, she was great in the Hunger Games movie. The Hunger Games movie did not perform as well as the previous ones. She was great in the West Side Story. That also kind of underperformed.
Yeah.
She should be way bigger than she is right now.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone acknowledges that she's great, so they keep trying to, like,
Put her
slip
in
her
stuff.
into something where it's like, show us how great you are. But it just, either people don't see it or it's not very good. Because I've seen one or two things where,
Yeah.
you know, the movie was quite bad. Like, there was nothing she could do.
I think that immediately...
And, like, so I understand getting her. Like, Gal Gadot, not terrible, but, like, also you could get someone who did that better.
Like, to me, I'm like... there were notes that were correct. Like, it's not like every note is flat, because you're not gonna find that, right? They're gonna auto-tune it. They're gonna try to fix it in post.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, only at this declare is the only note that I felt like had any power in it. The rest of this, to me, just from a performing perspective, is a little confused.
Can we play the beginning of it again, please?
Like, making it weirdly sultry is not the vibe.
I now understand why they picked Gal Gadot. If the idea is you're gonna have the evil queen be like a sexy temptress.
I guess my
But
thing is that
also,
you can't sing an
everyone's attractive
entire
in
song
Hollywood,
like that. Like,
so
you can't
that's
sing
not
an
special.
entire song in your little baby whisper voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to have power when power's... Like, I think that that's my problem, is that, like, there is certain spots here where more power was necessary. You can have a couple, like, sort of sexy lines, but there's way too much whispering.
A little mess.
That's the thing. When she talk sings, you recognize that she's not a great actor.
Yeah, like Up, that was not,
Yeah.
like that was nasal, that was not.
What's then finish him?
Yeah, Finish Him shouldn't be quiet either. See, so what I would, like, I'm just, you know, off the cuff, I would have to sing the song, I would have to learn it, but I would have done, like, diminish him, then finish him, like you growl and lean into that. There's not enough contrast, she's just whispering everything. Whereas you would, like, play between, like, the casual, oh, we'll just diminish him, then finish him. You have to make an acting choice that suits the vocal choice you're going for, and I don't know why she would whisper, so what's the treatment for a traitor, this craven coward of a man? As a singer, I can imagine how I direct someone, which is probably a little different.
I also think that it benefits that we're not watching her. Because part of me wonders, like, if in the moment it comes off more stilted and awkward when you have to see her physicality as well.
Yeah.
Of her sort of limitations as an actress.
But to me, it's not like, I'm like, Hunter, she sucks and she's so out of tune. It's more just like, if I were directing a singer, I have like a million ideas for how this could come off as a little bit more intimidating. Because here's the thing too, so I made a video about Disney characters that don't sing. And I talked about how Walt Disney did not want the evil queen to sing, because at that time, you didn't have menacing villain songs, right? Everything was kind of comedic. You didn't have Be Prepared, and even Be Prepared's kind of funny, but you guys know what I'm saying, right? So that was his thing, is that he didn't want a comedic song for her because he wanted her to be menacing. So in that video I had said the only two options I can see is like In the Dark of the Night from Anastasia, like something that's actually kind of terrifying, Hellfire-esque villain song for her, or you do, like, the witch's incantation that, like, when she's doing the spell, maybe you give her a song. And so, immediately, my problem with this is that they did, like, the exact thing that Walt Disney warned against, and that's why no one can find her menacing, even though she's supposed to be, and she's supposed to be this tyrant. She's not giving tyrant, she's kind of giving, like, petulant child, or like the younger mistress of your dad that thinks that they can boss you around, which is kind of not the vibe that you want. Like, I don't have a problem with her making her a little childish, I guess, but it's not like, I'm like, that's not my evil queen. Like, my evil queen wanted to murder a child just because she had evil in her heart, you know? And so some of these line deliveries are not giving me that.
She's not gay enough for it.
Yeah, kinda.
I think
That's a good point.
There needs to be, like, there's a level of gayness.
Well,
that
yeah,
you
like
need.
the theatricality.
Yeah,
of it,
like
right?
a fruit, like Scar is very gay, and so his song.
And that's what I mean.
like,
She's not. When
coup,
she says these
like when
things,
he goes like,
she's not.
Prepare for a coup of the century.
Yeah,
like there's a little like
he's
fruity nefariousness of it.
Yeah, like I don't.
She's not able to deliver that.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Gal Gadot's not gay enough for this song.
Well, that, and then also like. The thing is, she doesn't seem like she's actually enjoying the evil. She's, like, kind of mildly annoyed about the evil. Like, she did have this is gonna be fun, but I don't kind of believe that you're having fun.
It's not enough
right
to
now.
be a good singer. You have to be a good actress, too. And, like, I think she's just not delivering it. Like, I don't buy that this is a person who's, like enjoying herself a lot.
There's also, just a nitpick, but it's gonna be me that you declare. That should have been the fairest of all, because now she's just singing All Is Fair again. That doesn't make sense. She would say, it's gonna be me that you declare the fairest of them all. Whatever, that didn't land exactly. So, okay, other than the vocal performance, because I think that I clearly look traumatized. I don't know about Hunter. Again,
I'm not that bugged by it.
It's not like the most horrible singing I've ever heard, but again, that's because it's Disney. They're not going to let that through. But I do think that it's very lackluster and sometimes the acting choices are not appropriate for, like, the lyrical intent that is going on here. And so, like, some of it, like, Declare as a note, I think it was either this one, she belted that one a bit better than I expected, but the other one is whisper singing because, like, she's not placing it in her mix, and that's why, like, some of the notes are coming off as really nasal. Her singing voice isn't that rich and deep to convey, like, the same as, like, Ursula, you know what I mean? And so when you're dealing with a song that is already low, and you kind of need to have that default richness and then you have to belt. Like, there's just like kind of an incompatible voice type going on. But, okay, so here's my other thing that I predicted that was probably gonna be an issue. So the Disney Villain Bible talks about that, like, every villain thinks that they are, like, the victim of an unjust society. So the immediate problem that I was predicting that I was gonna have in this song, and maybe I'll make a video essay I probably will make a video essay just about this one, as soon as the cover comes out so I can see how it actually sounds when someone else is acting, is that, like, so Scar thinks that he is a victim of not being king even though he's smarter. That's a through line with all of the villains, is that they think that they are entitled. Jafar's a little complicated because he doesn't get a villain song until later, but clearly you have that element of like, well, I should be in power, I'm smarter, I'm this and I'm that. The problem is that when you have a character who's already in power, why are they singing a villain song? Because if you think about all the other villain songs, Ursula and Facilier...
This is a song about how I have power.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of a problem in terms of, like, Ursula and Facilier, that's like a deal song. Hellfire is kind of like a conflict song.
I want song.
Where, yeah, an I want song and a conflict song where Frollo is at odds, like, with himself and his heart. Villains are not usually singing just to have a little tee-hee. Even the funniest, like, Disney movie villains are not singing just to have a good little time, right? In the Dark of the Night, it's all about how Rasputin's preparing to go after Anastasia. And so the immediate problem I see is that we're singing about how much power she has, but that to me is the wrong thesis. It should have been that if Snow White is being called the fairest of them all because she saves the man at the gate, which I think that this song happens before the mirror says Snow White's the fairest of them all, but I think that that's why it should have happened after, because then it could have been, oh, my position is now, like, in jeopardy, and I need to fight to become the fairest of them all again. If it does happen after Snow White is said to be the fairest of them all, that would be baffling because she never mentions that. All she mentions is how much power she has, and so that's why I'm saying that I don't think that it happens. If it happens after the mirror, and she never, like, brings that up as a point of conflict, that she has been dethroned, that is baffling. So that's why I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. You can't really have a compelling villain sing a song about how strong they are.
It's like a villainous TED Talk.
Yeah.
Set to music.
Right, and so that's kind of a problem because villains are supposed to think that they are the victim, that they are the underdog, and that they don't have all the power. Their fight throughout the story is reclaiming the power. So this song would have made more sense if it was, oh, I am not the fairest of them all anymore. How do I reclaim my position? And they had it after she finds out that Snow White has kind of overthrown her. Because otherwise, I'm just like, okay, well, this is kind of fun. And, like, if it was anyone else other than Gal Gadot, like, it would have kind of served. It would have been a little, like, see you next Tuesday-y. But, like, otherwise, in terms of when we talk about promise, progress, and payoff, did you not just kind of waste my time? Because all you did was sing about how powerful you are. You didn't even sing about, like, what you're willing to do if your power is threatened, really. I guess she said, if you let me down, you'll be down in the dungeon. But, like, that's not really the same murderous queen that, like, was willing to kill her own 14-year-old stepdaughter.
I'm trying to think of, like, songs I like Disney villain songs I like. And I was thinking about how, like, well, Friends from the Other Side is mostly about how, like, powerful he is.
But he's trying to convince them, right? He has to portray how powerful he is so he convinces them to take the deal, right? And often those are the two villain songs you have, is like the make a deal with me villain song, or you have the I'm about to do
villain
the evil
introduction
plan.
Song,
yeah,
kind of,
like like villain song, killer song is what I was gonna say, but yeah, like, you know, like be prepared, right? Scar is in the, and here's something interesting that I think I may have talked about to you before, Hunter, but just to jog all our memory. So Be Prepared had a demo disco version, which is insane, where it was like, thanks to me, it was good by Mufasa. Thanks to me, little Simba's gone wrong, right? And so that happened after Mufasa died.
Okay.
And so it was just Scar, like, having a little party about how evil he is. Clearly the reason why they changed it is because they were like, wait a minute, that's boring. We want to hear about the lead up to the climax. Like, we want to hear about your villain plans and wonder whether or not you'll accomplish
Gal
them,
Gadot
right?
kind of already succeeded, and now she's getting toppled over.
Like, she is not the underdog anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what?
She
Like,
succeeded
why are we
in
singing?
as far as I can tell,
Like, she killed the king.
Yeah,
he's dead.
the prelude of
right?
the movie.
Like, the kingdom's in turmoil, so, like, this does not make a lot of sense to me. It's kind of like Princess Problems, which I said is a well-written song with a bad premise. This premise just needed editing and it could have been better. Like, I see the potential, but you're missing that fundamental aspect of what a villain is and why the villains are successful. And it's because they're trying to claw at power, and the Villain Bible says this, where our fascination with villains is that they have this desire that a lot of us have, but it is not appropriate to, like, display in polite society. Scar is jealous of his brother. A lot of us have probably felt that way, or like, we deserve that position more because we're so much smarter or whatever, right? And so you're missing that fundamental aspect of, like, the original Evil Queen didn't need a song because it wasn't really about her. But if you're gonna make it about her, you need to make it about how now she sees herself as a victim of Snow White. But she hasn't been victimized by Snow White yet because Snow White hasn't been crowned the fairest of them all. Even Mother Knows Best is like a convincing song of Don't Go Out of the Tower. So, like, if anything, it could have been a convincing song of, like, Snow White, agree with me, see my point of view. If you're gonna be in power someday, even though she would never give up power, but let's just pretend, like, you have to listen to me. I need to make sure that you conform to my ideals, and it could have been a song with both of them, because we also don't often see villain and hero duet. So, like, out of context, I would say that it's pretty, like, a 7. Like, I would listen to Anna Pantsu do the cover, like, over and over again. But in terms of the context of the movie, I'm a little suspicious because we didn't go anywhere. We didn't accomplish anything. We just talked about how evil we were, and then everyone went home. And I just see the better version in my head where she's like, impossible! How could Snow White be the fairest of them all? And she has her Preminger, I've been bowing, I've been scraping, I've been lying like a rug, and for 10 long years I've had to pay my dues, right? So they could have given her, like, I killed the king for this, I killed his wife for this, I did all of this stuff for this, and now she is being called, like, the fairest of them all. That's bullshit! Like, we could have seen her get a bit more angry.
You need that, like, her, like, this is just her TED Talk, not her motivation.
Yeah,
not the thing she wants to do.
Exactly. And, like, Preminger, I think, is a good example. He is gloating about his evil plan, but we hear about, first of all, what the plan is, and then also why he wants it. He's like, this peasant's son won't turn and run because some reckless royal chose another. But what I thought they were gonna do before the movie came out, and I'm still a little bit confused on this point, I thought that they were gonna make it so she was a peasant who, like, put magic on the king to make the king fall in love with her, and then she rose up, like, from nothing, and so she thinks that she deserves it. But apparently, that the king just, like, falls in love with her because she's hot after Snow White's mom dies, which also makes the king very unsympathetic, right? It would have made more sense. She's a witch! Have her use her magic to manipulate the man, right?
Does she use her magic to manipulate the man?
No, she doesn't. Apparently not. As
my.
far as I've heard, I've watched a bunch of review videos,
That
and that was
seems
people's complaint, was like, well, why not have it so she, like, hypnotized him kind of like Ursula, because now you've lost the sympathy for Snow White's father, because after his true love died, he just, like, shacked up with another lady. Like, that's fucking stupid. So we could have had, I used my magic on the king and married Snow White's father, and I deserve this. I scrounged myself up. I used to work in the mines, and now I don't need to work in the mines anymore. I'll never go back to the mines. Like, you could have had that sort of arc where it's like, okay, well, clearly she's unhinged now, because if Snow White comes into power, what's gonna happen to her? She doesn't want to go back to being a peasant. So I think that that's kind of the theme in this video, is that, like, Pasek and Paul don't write bad songs, but there's no conflict here. Right? There's no tension between the decision of what we're doing. So I don't know what we're doing here. I love how you just go into someone else's house and tell them to clean up, even though you want to stay there for free or whatever. Like, this is another problem, like, with the plot of the movie, is that Snow White thinks that children are living in the house, and she knows what it's like to be an orphan, so she cleans for them. Right? But this Snow White barges into the house, sees it's a mess, presumably because Whistle While You Work was originally, I'm 99% sure, did not have the dwarfs in it. She did it around the house all by herself. Then their song Tidying Up comes later. Okay. They have a different song where they're washing up before dinner.
Yes,
yeah.
So
I
think you're right.
I'm pretty sure that this happened with the animals, and that she did it before they got here. So now she's just telling them how to clean up, which, like, is fine, but, like, it's also kind of shitty that you broke into someone's house and you're like, oh, well, the way you guys are living is unacceptable. Like, you gotta clean it. So that's another problem I have, is the kindness of Snow White kind of gets lost when she's teaching them how to clean instead of cleaning for as an act of, well, if I'm gonna stay here for free, I need to earn my keep in this house. And so I'm like, what do you mean?
The dishes. You tidy up the room.
Like, the premise is fine to teach them how, but at least clean yourself a little bit first, you know?
And he'll use the broom. Me?
They're so affronted. I like how it's starting a cappella, though. That's kind of nice. Like, there's no instruments right now.
Is it me, or does that whistle sound weirdly artificial?
It probably is. Oh, also, this is the song I thought they would let her be a soprano, but they're not. She's still not, so that's not good.
As someone without a strong understanding.
That was a little vibrato. Okay.
This is good.
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel Zegler's good.
I think I like the Heigh-Ho one a little better. Yeah, that does sound fake.
Yeah.
That's nice. I don't know what catch. That's a little strange, but okay.
I love her parentheses as Sleepy falls asleep in the sink gurgling water.
Wait, I think that brush is mine.
See? They're fighting! Stop fucking fighting! I'm not here for your... That's funny,
Oh my
but
God.
I don't like that! Stop fighting with each other! You're supposed to be nice little old men! That was... Give her the vibrato, bestie!
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit better. But I know she can do it, so they just didn't let her. You know what I mean? That's so frustrating.
Yeah. I'm having a good time, though.
Oh, no, I think that this is... I think Heigh-Ho is better. This is like a 6 for me right now.
Here's the thing, I remember Heigh-Ho better. I don't remember this one better, so I don't have that, like, background, like, annoyed, and I just want to watch the original.
That lived at this address! Wait, what do you mean?
What used to be a mess that lived? Oh, like a mess, like they were a mess and
Yeah,
now they're
but
not?
like...
Yeah.
I don't like address that's sent to mom.
Mess
They don't
address.
have address, they don't get mail. They're not signed by
How
the
do you
government.
know?
Like, you know what I
How
mean?
do
The
you know
government's
that
not
they don't get
tracking.
mail? They could live full lives, Kaylin.
No, but I'm just saying, like, address is something like the government knows where you live. Like, you have like a house number.
Here's the thing,
Like,
no one
you're not
likes
living
the
at an
evil
address.
witch
You're a cottage in the middle of
because
the
she
woods.
calls herself evil and she murdered that guy's wife. But say what you will, the postage always makes it where it needs to
That's
go.
kind of bad. Like, that's cringe. It's not as bad as, like, I let you live here for free and I don't even charge you, right?
The
But,
mail
like,
was
that's-
always on time.
No, like, don't do that. Like,
I think that worked. Rachel Zegler,
I think that's a bad lyric.
the whistling felt weirdly artificial. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was or it just feels that way. Rachel Zegler, once again, is a good
Oh, no,
support.
her voice
She
is
doesn't
good.
do the vibrato.
But yeah, that's my problem. Like,
She could probably do
She can
backflips
do
on
it.
this song.
Like,
She could do more interesting
so
things.
they just didn't let her.
They probably wanted it to be more standard.
Yeah, I guess, but like, then again, like, you're just missing the point of Snow White. Like, Snow White is supposed to be a legit soprano. They don't make legit sopranos anymore. At first, I thought, because we only heard a snippet of this, right? So I thought, oh, they're only letting Snow White be a soprano when she cleans. That's fucking ridiculous. Now it's like, they only let her be soprano when she's doing the Oz. The rest of the time, she's not going, like, full legit. So that's just even more frustrating, I think, and a little egregious. It's offensive to me because I'm like, oh, well, that means that I can't be like a strong leader because I have a soprano high-pitched voice. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what are you trying to say to all of us that, like, that's not strong enough? So yeah, like, this was originally just Snow White and like the animals, and remember the turtle and he's like the little washboard, right?
Yes.
So I think that it's kind of a good
White-
idea to bring the dwarfs in, but I feel like that the plot line of the dwarfs bickering with each other is still something that I don't really care for.
Snow White is the movie that has the and then like the birds come in. Is that what it is? Is that or Sleeping Beauty?
That's Sleeping Beauty.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, that the birds respond. I mean, there's probably another, like, she has With a Smile and a Song. Like, she has that one where the
Perhaps.
birds also come in the forest, and so that you could be, yeah, they cut, I guess, with with a smile and a song from this too. But yeah, so I don't like how they took the soprano out of our soprano song, and I'm not a fan of the dwarfs bickering with each other, but I guess other than that, like, I would give it a 6. Like, it's under Heigh-Ho. I think Heigh-Ho's the one that translated the best so far. But, like, I'm not gonna listen to this. I'm gonna listen to the one from the original movie, because it's also shorter. It has less bloat. Like, again,
which is the issue.
does there need to be a conflict in this song? Like, yes, the conflict is that I guess they all learn how to clean together, and that's like the promise, progress, payoff. They'll learn how to clean, they do learn how to clean, and then the payoff is that they learn how to clean, and now they're family, right? So, like, this song technically has more conflict than the Evil Queen song, but, like, this is not the song that needed the conflict,
It has the
Bestie.
same conflict that I have whenever I have to clean my bathroom.
You know what I mean? Like, this is not the song that needed the deep conflict.
Yeah.
This could have been the one where we were just having a good little time. Reserve the conflict for later. Okay. I hate this man so much. Like, I have so much hatred in my heart. Not the actor. I'm saying that this character. So, just to give you context, okay? This guy is not a prince. He's a bandit. A lot of people thought before the movie came out that he was gonna be like a Robin Hood type bandit who like steal from the rich, whatever, like, and had a heart of gold, you know? And he was trying to go against the queen's tyranny. He is the man that gets arrested at the beginning of the movie. And so he says to Snow White something like, here, take some bread, the royalty doesn't care about us, like no one's seen the princess in years. And then he finds out she's the princess, she frees him from getting tied up on the wall, whatever, right? So they have interacted before this song happens. He knows that she's a servant, and he knows that she was trapped in the castle all of this time. And he is not a nice bandit. He was only stealing for himself. He did not care. Like, at the beginning, it's confusing because it seems like he was taking food back to other people, but by the time we get to this song, he does not give a fuck, and he's only, like, so that's the context. He's her love interest, but he is not the prince from the original movie. He's a peasant. So let's go ahead and listen to this, and I'm sure Hunter can already predict a couple, problems that I have.
Times are looking bleak, so princess.
With, Kermit the Frog over here.
Sink or swim.
He does have a weird Kermit intonation.
And prospects, well, they're rather grim.
Fucking tell me about it.
Your day, do the facts make you frown? Waking up to the real world is bringing you down.
Do drugs! No? Okay, that's where I thought it was going.
Problems, finally learning that life's not fair.
Okay.
Princess problems, ain't it crummy when folks won't share?
It's sad because this is well composed, but
so she's
I have a problem with everything that he has
she's going
said.
through it, right? She's also not treated well?
No!
She does not live in a life of like...
No!
Okay, so he's being a dick.
Yeah!
Okay, does the movie show him being a dick?
Well, he's being a dick right now, but are we gonna get her, you know, to tell him off?
But are you done? None for all and all for none. Such a gift of hope you give. So that's it. You give in.
Now you begin to get wise, cause you can't fix the world baking apple pies. Yeah, we got a classic case of princess problems. The castle's cozy, but
So is his
I
idea
was
that
full of rage.
that he's like, don't care about people, be cynical and fuck off and only look after yourself?
Yeah.
So he's like Han
I'm
Solo.
proud. Look at you.
I guess.
Look, the kingdom
That's a
needs
good,
help.
we'll talk about that actually.
But also the point about Han Solo is that he learned that no, you shouldn't just look out for yourself. You should actually be a part of the cause and help people.
Cause your princess problems don't apply to me. They don't apply to me.
Okay, so the actual song itself, if I could not speak English, I'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, this is good.
Right.
It's
That's what
bumpy.
I thought too.
I like his kind of slight Kermit intonation.
I hate it. I think it's so like it's no offense to
Someday
this
we'll
guy,
find
but
out.
like I need Dimitri or Fierro. You are giving like nerd that gets shoved in a locker. So that I don't
could
like
see
the
him being
Kermit.
a little. I don't know. I think Kermit's a little bit of a rogue.
So when I heard this song, I was like, this is really unfortunate, right? Because it's very like nicely composed in my opinion. But can you guess what my fucking beef?
I think the issue is going to be, like, thematically it makes no sense. Because, like,
yes!
he probably doesn't have that character arc of learning to care.
Well, he kind of does after this song.
Okay.
But here's my problem,
But
right?
also saying that to the girl who is
who
a princess.
rescued you, right?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
So here's my thing. He knows that Snow White was a servant in the castle. She freed him. There's this whole reveal of like, oh no, the girl that I was telling about how the princess
he's
doesn't
like,
care.
being a servant
Like-
in the castle is like, it's not great, but it is still preferable than outside.
But that's not a princess problem.
That's
it's
not
a
a princess
problem to be
yeah.
a servant in your house. So he knew that she was the princess and that she saved him and that she was not being treated well because he offers her food. So clearly he thought, and she is, that she's going through it. So how did we get from that to this where he's like, oh, waking up to the real world is bringing you down? Like, who the fuck are you, first of all?
She was aware of the issues.
Like,
yeah,
she was
thematically,
aware the entire time.
That makes no sense.
So, and it's okay for him to be an asshole, right? But my problem is that Gal Gadot during the press tour was like, oh, Snow White won't be saved by the prince, and then Rachel, like, followed up, yeah, she's not gonna be saved by the prince, she's not gonna be wishing for true love, right? So, the original Snow White was in love with the prince because he was kind and, like, serenaded her with a heartfelt love song. But you're telling me that, first of all, she's not like, I saved your ass, you should be a bit more grateful, and it wasn't exactly a picnic for me either, right? Like, she should have at least, tried to fight him a little bit more, because she only interjects this one time. That's not very girl boss of my girl boss Snow White, to not even say anything or really fight against his point of view. You made her more passive, and he's not even, like, a nice enough man for her to fall in love with. You just made him a dick. When the original prince was not a dick, he was nice and he was romantic and he was charming, and apparently that's the prince that's supposed to be creepy, not this guy who's like condescending and mansplaining to Snow White in the woods. I'm supposed to believe that this is a more healthy romance?
How you do this, you have the conflict be him like, I don't care about people, I'm just looking after number one, and he learns to care about people, in contrast to Snow White, who wants to save the world, just doesn't know how.
Yeah.
Fixing her I want song helps fix this song, because in the original song, she's like, I want to get rid of this lady and solve everyone, I just don't know how.
Yeah.
You're gonna help me, I don't want to help you, but you will. You owe me, I'm gonna have something over your head.
And that's what I said in the video.
That's what you should do for the conflict.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Like other side
you
from
don't
Greatest
have
Showman.
him nag her like a goddamn, like, like a dating coach. This is all like a pickup artist.
Exactly. So that was my first problem, is why is this not an other side from Greatest Showman song where she's trying to convince him, hey, you have a group of bandits, even though you say you don't care about anyone. So, like, clearly this character got multiple rewrites that aren't meshing with each other, because at the beginning of the movie, he's selfless, then he's a dick again, and then he goes, 5 minutes later, he's taking an arrow for Snow White in the
Whenever
woods,
someone's
right?
character arc makes no sense, that's a sign of, like, oh, you spent a lot of money on rewrites.
Yeah,
didn't you?
so, like, clearly they rewrote him. But, like, this was such a solvable problem by having it be, like, Snow White convinces Jonathan the song, right? My argument was, if Pasek and Paul were not allowed to do that, it should have been, at the end he says no, but he feels a little bad. So, like, my idea was, like, my stepdad always told me that it's man eat man, that it's dog eat dog. And so then the less of the ire is on Jonathan and more on this, like, other tyrannical parental figure, like, you know what I mean? So they can bond over the fact that both of their parents are shitty. Maybe he feels kind of bad and then he leaves, right? Because if you need to make him leave because the screenwriters told you that he can't help Snow White, you can at least have them understand each other, have it start as an argument, but then they have mutual understanding because they both figure out, oh, we're the same. Like, that's how you do a song like this, even if there's no plot progress. You have to have it have the emotional progress, right? And so my beef with this is that, like, we just heard him sing about how much of an asshole he is for 2 whole minutes. Why? And she doesn't even argue, she doesn't even fight back, and I'm like, and it's so tone deaf because the castle was not cozy. It is probably warmer outside than it was in the castle. What are you talking about? And so that was my really big, and I think that it's like borderline borderline misogynistic. All the Disney princess movies need a surrogate man so the men in the audience don't feel like they're gay for going to a princess movie and that man is cynical and sarcastic and rolls his eyes. And this is just like, it started with Enchanted, and in Enchanted it was okay because he's a real man in the real world,
You know,
right?
if you wanted to do it something different, you could have him be Robin Hood and have Snow White be cynical. If you wanted to twist it, if you wanted to switch it.
You could have done that. Like, she's cynical now when she's given up hope because her
that,
mom is trying to kill her, right?
That
like,
makes a lot of sense for her to be cynical of like, yeah, my dad's dead. And
like,
he's
after
no,
everything that
believe.
happened. Yeah.
That makes more sense. They should have done that because that kind of...
I get why they
spins it
wouldn't
on its
because
head.
then it's like, oh, well, now you're getting a man to, like, motivate Snow White. But, like,
Maybe.
they just had to do something. You know what I mean?
But, like, even if you have issues with that, like... Because that's the thing, but that makes more sense because, like, she wants to do something, she just doesn't know how. And if you have this guy come in and say, no.
I think the convincing song is, like, the best contender,
there could be
right?
Regardless of whether or not he's cynical or whoever's cynical, there's a version of this that makes more sense.
Yeah, and I think it's that other side thing from The Greatest Showman because, you just wasted our time, basically, if Jonathan's not helpful. And I like how
Also, it's a Disney movie. This ain't passing the Bechdel test.
Yeah,
like,
well,
let's drop that.
How you mentioned Han Solo is interesting because I've been watching a lot of Brandon Sanderson's, like, lectures and whatever.
Oh.
And so he talks about likability, competence, and initiative, which is something that I mentioned earlier. And so, like, Han Solo has low likability, but he has high competence. And so even though he's an asshole, the reason why we don't groan every time he's on screen is because at least he gets the shit done, right? Like, you know, Sokka from Avatar is kind of another example of, like, a character who starts out as kind of a dick, right? But they're competent, and so you are not bored of them being on screen. So my problem with Jonathan, in terms of those standards too, is that at least a convincing song would have him be in the plot, but he's trying to run away from the plot, and so his initiative and competence is useless because he's basically being like, no, and we don't need a whole song off the word no, right? And so the way that you make him unlikable, but then give him competence and initiative is by having him, like, begrudgingly at the end agree to help Snow White. But even still, it's problematic to make a character this unlikable and then have them have no other redeeming qualities, right? Because if you're gonna have the Han Solo archetype, you at least need to make them smart and you need to make them do things, but he does not do anything. So that's, I think, very, like, that's so egregious.
I mean, the song itself is okay out of context, but, like, in this, like, I just, as a character, I don't know if that works.
And then the other thing that they could have done, too, that I was thinking about is that Phoebus has, like, a fuckboy song in Hunchback in the musical, but then he's like, all I hear are screams of my dead comrades, and so you understand why he'll kind of suck up to Frollo and whatever. So even if you were gonna make this a solo where Snow White never fights back, I at least need a point to empathize, right? Like, with Jonathan's point of view. So if you had a little bridge section where he's like, I know what being cold is like because I used to live on the street and my parents died after the queen took power. Like, you at least need to have him if he's not gonna take his mask off in front of Snow White, you have to have him take his mask off to the audience because otherwise, why do we care? Like, why am I rooting for you and Snow White to get together when you're such a dick? You have no redeeming qualities. You don't even have, like, a bit of sad trauma. And that's where I brought up, like, the unfairness thing, which is what I made up to tack on to Brandon Sanderson stuff. Because every Disney movie has that element of unfairness with any character that matters. And I don't know why your life is unfair. You're stealing stuff. You seem to be doing okay. If you were like, and my parents died and I was on the street, like, if you gave him a little Roman Torchwick sprinkle of sad orphan backstory, at least I would have felt a little something for you. But
like,
I'm like,
there's such an argument.
Dick.
There's such an argument to be made of, like, yeah, I'm like, they killed my parents and now I'm around this psycho 24/7. My life isn't great either.
And so, like, isn't this, I don't know, I feel like it's, like, borderline misogynistic to be, like, princess problems. Like,
yeah,
it's just a little sexy, like,
unless they really, like, put him in his place, which I guess they don't, or unless they do in the actual context of the movie, I don't know.
But this is the only time where she
this is the
fights
villain
back,
song.
and I'm like, yeah, you're the villain of this movie. That's what I said at the end of my video. I'm like, you're the real villain of this movie. I hate him. I hate him so much, and I hate the fact that, like, we are just bombarded by men like this everywhere, right? The Sarah J. Maas books all the time, everywhere. Other, like, romantasy. Like, it's just, like, the guy, and it's supposed to be this funny banter, but it's not funny. The guy's just a dick, and usually it's just a man being rude to a woman, and the woman never banters back. Banter needs to be equal.
It's like how there's those guys that are like, I'm an asshole, and it's like, you are. You should fix that.
Yeah.
I think you assume there's a lovable after that, but I promise you there isn't.
Right, and Flynn Rider was lovable because he opened up to Rapunzel and he had other, like, positive attributes.
Yeah, and also he wasn't a dick. He was just kind of looking after himself, and, like, Rapunzel was dead weight.
But this is, like, imagine if he was like, you just stayed in the tower your entire life. That's not that bad. Like, that would be, like, if Flynn did that, it would have immediately alienated the audience. And this is something else I talk about in the video, is this is why they do, like, save the cat with Aladdin. Like, Aladdin gives up his bread to the orphans because otherwise it would have alienated the audience. So I'm like, maybe Jonathan did something earlier that was save the cat, but, like, I would have lost all respect for you, like, by this point, because even if he did something nice at the beginning of the movie, it would imply that he's gotten more cynical as the movie has gone on, which is bad. So yeah, I hate this man. I hate him. I hate how we can't get a man who is nice anymore because Disney apparently thinks that they won't appeal to dads being dragged to the theater. I don't want my kids to see men as a project that they need to fix.
It's also
like, I'm
one
just
of those.
annoyed,
It's one of those things where, like, if you at a certain point, your movie's going to be for a certain group of people.
Yeah.
And if you try to make a film for everyone, you get really generic slop.
Yeah.
Or all of the Disney live-action remakes.
And so I'm like, what woman finds this? Like, I don't know. Just not us.
There's some real broken people out there.
Like, I get liking Flynn Rider, and I love villains to enemies to love. Like, I love enemies to lovers. I mean, you've read my fan fiction. I've written some toxic character interactions before, but, like, it needs to be equal. So this is their duet that they have 5 minutes later after he takes an arrow for her for no reason because apparently he just changed his mind all of a sudden, which is like bullshit.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been looking at this album cover for so long, and I really need to stop making eye contact with Gal Gadot. It's like burning a hole in the back of my skull.
I used to think that the way through the woods would be lonely.
Okay.
Like the breathiness, it sounds more like singer-songwriter-y.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's her character in the Hunger Games, right?
Yeah, well, her character in the Hunger Games is more of like a bard that sings like folk songs.
Like it found where to land.
She's also Romani.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how the people feel about that. They take the color swatch out, they say close enough, and you get the role.
Oh, man.
At least in the book.
I believe that something so good could come true.
Ugh.
Girl.
Get up! Don't you remember the princess problem?
I'm about to say, because like people talk, like there's a reason to be upset with the whole Disney, oh, you can't fall in love with a man you just met angle.
Right.
Like, I get that. This is just as bad.
Yeah!
At least he's like, you don't know him, but at least he's nice.
Yeah.
This guy's a dick.
I mean, I think that line's fine. Like the every fool.
When we're together, the time slows.
Okay.
Baby.
I just
don't believe that you had this change of heart, bestie. Like, it happens in the span of like 10 minutes. I'm not joking.
I mean, I guess this is the downside of not actually just watching the film.
But that's what I understand. I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, so that goes back to the thesis of the movie. Does it really have something to do with him, though? Like, I don't...
This has big sixpence none the richer energy.
This might be the vaguest song in the movie, though. I'm like, this could be in anything. Like, this is any Disney love song.
The world's less depressing because I'm around you. That's like the basic, like... Yeah, that's a lot of love songs.
Oh, damn, we had to force the consent into this song. Like, you know what I mean? That she says he can kiss her to wake her up later on.
Yeah.
That's I feel about that on two levels. Like, first of all, that's just such a forced thing to say.
Also, if I'm in a coma, kiss me to wake me up. I don't give a shit.
Like, I get what they might be saying, like, I hope that I wake up next to you, like, wake me tomorrow morning with a kid, like, you know, but, like, I can see so transparently what they're doing that that's really fucking annoying.
You know, here's the thing.
What do you mean it might have everything to do with you? See, is this not more problematic than the original Prince song? At least Snow White was never like, oh, the prince is my entire world. Like, she had the dwarves and she had the animals. But she's chalking everything up, her life being better to this random man and not living with the dwarfs and her little found family and whatever. Like, isn't that kind of shitty? Am I nuts? I mean, we've been recording for 2 hours, so we're probably
out of the context of the movie, I don't know. Maybe like she tries to save the animals. Maybe it's more charming in the context of the films. If the IMDb score is anything to go by, I suspect it's not the case.
But yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, so
generic.
The
I don't know.
problem to you.
This is like what a Disney song sounds like to people who don't like Disney songs.
Yeah, or
like full
if
of
you got
hollow,
AI to write,
yeah, full of like hollow, lowest common denominator platitudes.
Yeah, and so just from my perspective, right? Again, this is not a slight against Rachel. Like, everyone
Zegler.
said this.
Oh, everyone!
No,
she can
right?
sing. She's
Like,
doing a good job.
No. I mean, like, this isn't a
Her
slight
voice
to
is
throw
good.
her under the bus for what she said during the press tour, because I'm saying that everyone said it. The director said it. Pasek and Paul said it.
They were told to say that.
They were told to say that. Gal Gadot even says it, right? But Rachel's the only one who's getting harassed online for it. This was clearly what they wanted the whole movie to be, right? So here's my problem. You're saying that this Snow White doesn't need to be saved by the prince, that she won't be dreaming about true love. But the Snow White we see is like, I have worked the idea of the prince being in the life I've already established. Like, you know what I mean? With the dwarfs, you could say, oh, Cal, you're stretching, you're reaching. Like, you need the stuff that happens after the canonicity of Snow White to prove that. But, like, as far as we know in the Snow White canon, Snow White does not just leave the dwarfs behind. She, like, they all live together. Like, she still lives with the dwarfs. So my problem is,
you and me, just us, and your 10 dwarfs.
Yeah, 7 dwarfs.
Seven
right?
dwarfs.
And so my problem is, she's like, oh, everything that's good right now, I have you to thank, random man who was condescending me 10 minutes ago. Not the animals, not living with the dwarfs, not her own, like, ingenuity and, like, the own life that she's built for herself after getting chased away from the palace. Like, she is crediting it to this guy. He doesn't deserve the credit. What did he do?
I'm sorry, I've been staring at this, like, album cover for so long, I just noticed that Snow White appears twice. She's in the background and in the foreground. That's kind of creepy. That's slightly horror-ish.
Like, again, just generic, like, is it a bad song out of context? No, but, like, if you can only say a musical theater song is good out of context,
you know what
have
it is?
failed as a musical.
This is my theory. Is that whoever's idea it was, and I believe there was one Disney executive that decided to come up with the idea of the live action remakes.
Right.
And, like, on paper they worked because generally they make a lot of money and are easy to, like, build up hype.
Sure.
I think whoever did that watched all those old BuzzFeed videos about, like, oh, Disney princesses, this is crazy.
But, like, this
Gaston is so
worse.
creepy. Why does the beast keep her in the house? Generally, the kind of, like, annoying, nitpicky part of it, and then the kind of BuzzFeed shallow white feminism of it all.
Yeah.
It cranked out these movies where it's like, yeah, let's have Aladdin where we have to give Jasmine a girl boss song, but we're incompetent. So the girl boss song she says in her head, even though it's about how she's going to speak out loud.
And that's how
we make Nala a girl
like...
boss. It's so on the nose and obvious, it becomes kind of painful and adds to the bloat of it all.
And this is where I'm like, this is worse. Like, it is worse. It's worse than the original Prince. Because, you know, there's also the implication, too, that, again, you may say, oh, Cal, you're reaching, but, like, this is what they intended. They intended them to be childhood friends, like, they knew each other, because all the royalty in the area be knowing each other, you know what I mean? And so, the idea was, like, that the Prince and Snow White knew each other. That's why she's wishing for the one she loves to find her. She already loves him. It's not as creepy as people seem to think it is, and I don't even know why they're like, oh, you know, the prince, like, came upon this random woman and broke into the palace. Like, no, they already knew each other. She wished for him to arrive, and he arrived. He was the person that she was wishing for, right? And so, like, even the original movie, I feel like people don't understand properly, like, the idea, right? Like, the prince loves her for who she is, even though she's dressed in rags, and that's why she runs away. Not because he's creepy, but because she's embarrassed that she's, like, dressed not like a princess, and the princess, you know,
also, I hate to tell you,
right?
but historically, princes didn't really get to choose who they fell in love with.
And so that's a good point, too, because that's another aspect of a fairy tale, is that the reason why it was a fairy tale for the people was, oh, you get to marry the person you actually, right, love. So I just think that this is, like, regressive, because it's like, oh, thank you, random
peasantry
man.
would marry for love often, but,
yeah.
with actual, like, royalty, I don't know.
But there's also the fantasy that peasants wouldn't be able to marry up, right?
Yeah,
so that's the other thing, like,
you
know, Cinderella's prince loves Cinderella even though she's a peasant. So that there's still the fantasy angle, but with this, I'm just like, so you're crediting everything good in your life to this man. That was rude. I think that, like, this part for Jonathan is a little bit better because we're actually trying to understand he lived through a fucked up world, but, like, as soon as we're almost having a revelation about him, they, like, kind of skirt away, and that's my problem, is that they could have had this moment where they bond, like, I don't want to say trauma bond, but, like, kind of bond over their problems, but, like, instead they're just like, oh, that's interesting, never mind, because we can't get too specific because we want this song to go on the radio. But I'm like, there are just so many other, and I know that Disney love songs have traditionally skewed closer to pop in an attempt to capture, like, a whole new world, right?
Sure.
Whole new world is kind of, like, very, like, poppy,
but it's also
specific.
It's also kind of a classic.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like they were or Can You Feel the Love Tonight, right?
Sure.
But they were still able to mesh the idea of appealing to a wider audience with, like, the specificity of Simba and Nala's situation. Like, Simba's afraid to tell her the truth. And so I understand that historically the romance songs have gotten the most pop-esque treatment, but they've always still made sure to ground it in musical theater land, and I am not getting any interesting character insight from this at all. And maybe I would have if they didn't make Jonathan be such a dick. I also don't know why they decided to go, like, with the hand meets a hand thing, like it found where to land. Like, I would have thought that they would have called back to the thesis of, like, good things grow, like when you least expect it, love grows between two people.
Yeah.
So it's not the most horrendous song, but I'm just like, I'm still
like,
mad. So.
It's like, I don't know. It's more like I'm thinking about how this applies to a plot, and I think the plot is kind of weak.
Yeah.
Is my issue.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Again, it's not like Pasek and Paul are writing, like, Julia Michaels level terrible lyrics out here, you know, of, like, in the universe we're all shareholders or whatever, which is a real, we should do this with Wish. With Wish.
Oh yeah, I still haven't watched Wish.
We should do a Wish soundtrack. Yeah,
God.
Anyway, so, like, none of the songs are gonna be Wish level, but, like, this is just sort of, like, it's mid. It's, again, that, I'd give this a 4 based off of the context, and Princess Problems is sitting at, like, a 3 for me. So, like, technically, I would say All Is Fair is better than this song. Again, it's not that it's horrendously written, but in the context of a musical, promise, progress, payoff, what does this have to do with the plot, Bestie? What does this have to do with good things grow?
Love,
I mean,
but,
yeah,
like
it could have been good things grow between two people who were originally at odds, but then you don't have the convincing song, and so then we're missing the progress. This is a payoff to a plot point that did not happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, then again, also, not watching the movie. So
yeah.
They didn't put that, plot point into a song. Maybe you think they should have.
But I'm like, I know what happens because people have explained that Princess Problems happens. He, like, saves her from getting caught by the queen a little bit. Then they sing in the woods. 5 minutes later, he takes an arrow for her. Doc somehow fixes him up despite not being a doctor, and then this song happens.
Doc a doctor?
Well, I don't think he's an actual doctor.
I was left to believe that this man was an MD.
But yeah, like, so I know how quickly this has been reported to happen during the movie, and I know that this payoff would have been stronger if they were actually at odds and not just like he harassed her for 5 minutes and then changed his mind 5 minutes later. You know what I'm saying? But we're almost done, so I don't know how I'm gonna edit this. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep. So this is...
Gal Gadot, it seems.
Again, yeah.
Gal Gadot and Disney.
So this is actually the song that I suggested in my video, was to have one when she's making the potion, but like...
Of beauty. Age me older,
See, the problem is this should have a different instrumental a little bit, because now it's a magical spell, like it shouldn't be the same as...
Sweet potion. You must.
Okay?
That was an interesting choice. The breathiness there, it's not awful.
No, I'm just like, why are you... Like, why are you that desperate that it's not, like, as if it's not gonna work, you know what I mean?
Voice as creaky as a cackle, a hunching head with wrinkles.
She sounds like Madonna doing
Yeah.
Santa Baby when she tries to do the, like, sultry voice.
That, yeah. I thought she was turning old just now, but that's not... Or maybe this is her idea of old now. Okay, that was a little spooky. But they all... See what I mean? How they only change the instrumentation when they're not singing? Like, I could have used this to be a bit more magical instead of just repeating the instrumentation from before. Okay.
The reprise part.
Well, why are you singing? Your voice is not as creaky as a crackle, though, didn't it?
Well, because she hasn't, like, turned herself in.
Didn't she, though? Because I thought that this was where she's transforming, and now she's making the apple. The transformation should have happened first, and then she would have made
Unless
the
she
apple.
turned when she's Ferris the Vol and then she transforms?
Maybe. That was a little weird.
That makes sense
Again,
more
maybe
with the
if
voice.
we had seen it in the movie, but I think this is what she says, like when she's transforming in the movie. This is just a sung kind of version of it, right?
yeah.
So I thought that she transformed and then she made the apple, so that's weird that they'd have her singing normally. There's mixed signals I'm getting from whatever. Again, is this terrible? It's kind of like uninspired in terms of like, this does not feel like a witch's spell. You know what I mean? This is just the same instrumentation as before. I was expecting like, come
Creepier.
little children, kind of like that
I
sort
kind
of
of
thing.
wanted it to sound like the beginning of the plagues.
Yeah,
from the
like
Prince of
just
Egypt.
something a bit more
Where it's
like,
like
I
the
get it's a
creepy-
reprise, but
Yeah.
like you have to convince me that like something has changed and like this is not, it's not giving that sort of, oh, she's cooking the potion and we can hear it happening in like the instruments and stuff. So that's just lame. That's just a little lame. Again, I don't know. I think it was more nasal this time.
Mhm.
Like it was just a lot more nasal than
There
it
was a
before.
couple times when she tried to do the growl and it didn't quite work. Like,
Yeah. I'm like, sweet potion, you must. Like, as if it's not... I understand
Like
that she's
she's
personifying
begging
the...
yeah,
but,
I
like,
don't know.
you would say that,
Not
like,
that
oh,
bad.
the fates or something. Like, you wouldn't say that to the potion bottle. That's on you, bestie. If you fuck up cooking it, that's your fault. You know what I mean? So, it's not the most egregious thing, but it's just something that sort of sticks out to me that, like, they had to rhyme dust and must together, where I'm like, you don't say that to the thing that you're doing. You say that to, like, God or whoever you think is up there
I
in
don't know.
the
It
sky
is a
helping
little bit
you.
odd. I'm kind of surprised Gal Gadot isn't as bad as I kind of expected her to be.
I mean, for me, it is as bad as I expected, but just in the sense of, like, I knew that they weren't gonna, like, let her go in, like, raw. I knew it wasn't gonna be, like, this egregiously un-auto-tuned sort of disaster, because they never let that happen. But I can tell, based on how much they had to polish it, how bad it probably was raw, and the acting choices are still
the
not
way
doing
she
it for
does
me.
legitimately kind of sound like Madonna and Santa Baby when she tries to do the sultry
And,
voice.
like,
I
that's
wonder
not what
if
you
that is.
want, bestie.
I wonder if that is vocal processing or she just sounds like that.
I don't know, and I don't know how much is that, like, that they told her to be like this, and how
Here's
much
the
is
thing,
her own
this
choice.
movie is such a bomb that everyone's going to be pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah.
And, like, inevitably we're going to find out more about
I
Gal Gadot.
hope so. One day we'll get
Because
the
already
tell-all,
I've heard
right?
a bunch of stuff. Like, Gal Gadot is notoriously not a great actress.
But yeah,
and
like, this is the
yeah,
problem.
you're gonna find out. If
she
there's
should have
something
sounded
weird
like
about
an
it, you're
old
gonna
lady
find out.
at this point. Like, she should have sounded old, but she probably can't even
Part
do
of
that.
me doesn't
I don't
want
know.
her to do that because it might sound terrible.
Right. So that's, again, like I said earlier, these are the two spots where I predicted a song could go in my songless Disney character video. But, like, this is not this does not have the darkness that I was wanting. And this is why I suggested that you don't give the evil queen any songs, but so that's disappointing because I see the potential here, but like they kind of dropped the ball again.
I think that, yeah, there could be like their actual. Okay, well, another reprise.
Oh, so okay. Here's another thing that I had a problem with Waiting on a Wish. She thinks her father's alive out there somewhere. And so, to me, logically, she would sing, Father, I don't know what to do. I wish you were here with me. I'd trade the world to have you back. Right, something like that. So she thinks that he's been alive this whole time. And he's just out there somewhere. And she has no initiative to A, go look for him, or B, at least, like, pray to him. And that sort of, like, you know, that, like, dead mom from Beetlejuice type way. Like, I know that in Dead Mom, the mom is dead. But, like, when I found out that information, I was shocked because it's such common sense that for Waiting on a Wish, you would have like a bridge where it's like, Father, I don't know what to do. I wish you were here with me. Like, you know, Simba talking to Mufasa, like, Father, I don't know what path I'm supposed to take.
Do
so
it a little more
she
dramatically.
thinks that he's alive and doesn't mention it in the song where she talks about like what she wants. Presumably she wants her father to come back so she knows what to do when everything's okay again. So this is when she finds out that he's dead, I guess.
I choose to believe that like Snow White is like a Reddit atheist and just Dad's not out there.
But yeah, so she has thought he's out there. I think Jonathan tells her like, oh yeah, your dad's dead, bestie. Like he went out and found out.
My father told me long ago. I have to know. Does that girl still live in me?
That's the same question you asked earlier. You should not be asking it again.
They left a wish for me to learn that this kingdom is my destiny.
You should not need to learn that either, bestie.
Time to lead.
Okay.
Not be led. Said I'd be.
But you're gonna trail off sadly too then. What?
And then we get a little bit of Disney magic, presumably, or not. Nope, just sadly trailing off. Okay, well.
What?
That wasn't, I mean, okay. At this point, nothing's like even hitting.
No, like this is annoying to me because I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have a reprise and the first one was sad, the next one needs to be happy. That's what part of your world does, right? Like Ariel has the triumphant reprise after she rescues Eric, right? Because it's a point of contact that she didn't have before. You know what I mean? So you have part of your world sad and then the happy version. Same thing with Tangled and Rapunzel. So my problem with this is she's doing what I suggested earlier, right? Time to rise and lift my head. Like, that's a triumphant thing that I expected to happen. And she trailed off sadly again? Why? Why, Hunter? Tell me. Explain. Why is she just sad again? And they just had her trail off the same way she did.
They just wanted her to be sad.
But they need to stop being sad.
And presumably bad things are happening. I don't know.
But you know what I mean? Like, this is not... If you're gonna do a reprise... It needs to have the progression and like the transformation of, oh, you're singing this thing you did before, but now you're triumphant because you're making like another choice. So I just see this as like, well, that's fucking annoying because you had the opportunity to do the triumphant reprise and you didn't. And she's still in the same situation. She should have known that that girl still lived in her as soon as she lived when the evil queen tried to kill her earlier in the movie. So that's strange. It's strange how passive they've made the Snow White, even though they've insisted that she is the girl boss version of the other one.
Here's the thing, they always attempt to do girl boss and they failed every single time.
I know, but I'm just like, this is like an egregious failure compared to normal. You know what I mean? Like, where it's just like, she doesn't do anything.
Oh.
Okay. So I think this is the town. Oh God. Oh, it's the good things grow people. Okay.
She's like, hey, don't worry, guys, I'm back. Presumably she woke up at this point.
I think that this is probably her walking into town and the people are slowly, you can imagine them one by one, they're standing behind her. I think that that's what's happening.
Are we gonna like lay Miz the evil queen?
Yeah,
Off with her
that was
head.
the plan, but okay.
Ooh, I like that water.
Yeah. Okay, sure, we'll just steal the Frozen 2.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
It works. This is good.
That's it?
Yeah, presumably this is then her like.
Okay. See, this is the energy that I wanted.
I like
the
how
last
it
2
sounds.
times.
I don't know how it fits in the movie or how it
Well,
works
I'm
narratively,
assuming
but
that,
like.
again, she's in town and the people
Yeah.
are coming behind her and now she's trying to fight
Do
the
you
queen.
hear the people
Yeah,
sing? Yeah,
but
kind of.
like this kind of leaves a lot to be desired in the sense of like she just repeated what her father said instead of like I would have liked if the people had done like it lives in you like a thing to rhyme with true, kind of like in The Lion King, like he lives in you, he lives in me, right? They just sort of abruptly stopped singing. I don't know, this just annoys me because this is the heroic triumph I needed much earlier. Like, I guess it's fine to have it now, but now you're just ripping off the, like, you are the one you've been waiting for all of your life, whatever, like the thing in Frozen. Like, this is just ripping off the Frozen 2 plotline where they're like, Elsa, you had it in you all along. It's a little, shouldn't you have figured that out a little earlier?
Yeah.
So that's just, I don't know, like, I guess they gave her a heroic, but like, this isn't even a full song. This is just like a little ditty. Like, this isn't even like a full reprise.
Like, I'm
they should
sure-
have combined the 2 songs together. Why do we have a reprise and this?
I'm sure that they probably like mix well together with the instrumental in the actual film.
Like, why not make it the
Or
same
like,
song?
if I was them, I don't know if they're gonna do that. They thought the Lion King movie was a good idea.
So yeah, this is just a nothing, like, you're paying off something you didn't set up properly. Because the waiting on a wish does not set this up properly. So that's
Yeah.
annoying. Oh, we're finished! Okay, so that's it!
Well,
We don't even get our Les Mis, do you hear the people sing, like, mob song, but to take the queen down, we're just done?
yeah, that's a shame, because like a good, like, I'm about to kill you song's a good time.
Yeah, like, again, the mob song is a little different because we don't want Gaston to kill the beast, but I'm like, did they run out of money at the end? Like, what happened?
This movie cost, with marketing, in the neighborhood of $500 million. They had the money. The mouse has deep pockets. You reap what you sow, so you must have reaped the evil queen, because that's how that works. Right? That's what that saying is. You reap what you sow. That means you deserved the bad things
Well,
that
I
happened
guess now
to
they're
you.
saying they deserve the good thing that happened.
That's a weird lyric.
Oh.
Because also, like, oh, survive, you deserve goodness because you survived the bad? That's odd.
Okay, so now this is what I want to end this video with, which I'm not sure how
Okay.
long it's gonna be. So, like I said, guys, just because I say something in this video doesn't mean that it was law. Like, I could do a video essay
Law.
later on and, like, change my
Opinion.
right? But
This is first impression.
my immediate sense is that, like, that question did not pay off. Good Things Grow is talking about good things growing in the kingdom is plentiful. But it never was like, and the reason why good things grow is because we're nice and we're brave and we're whatever. Like, they may kind of say that to Snow White, like her parents do, but the people never have, and the reason why our kingdom works is because our philosophy is X, Y, and Z, right? Because what I imagine they're trying to go for is that the reason why the kingdom is prosperous is because everyone is kind to each other and helps each other out and we're all equal and that sort of thing, right? And so the finale would, in theory, if they had done that properly, would have been like, we went through this time of hardship, but by working together, the kingdom, like, is restored to its former glory. But because the villagers are so vague, I don't get any of that. I can only imagine that that's the message that they wanted to send. But think about other like Disney openings and closings, right? We start with Fathoms Below, where the sailors are like, there's these mysterious mermaids and also they kill people. At least in the Broadway musical, they get more into the killing people aspect of it, but like you have the divide between humans and merfolk, right? Then at the end, everyone sings Part of Your World together because Ariel and Eric get married and that's the union. Unfortunately, Fathoms Below got a little bit cut up, and so it doesn't, you have to really like read between the lines to see what Howard Ashman wanted to originally do, but like it's Disney's first musical, so we can give it a pass. Beauty and the Beast, for who could ever learn to love a beast, they sing Tale as Old as Time at the end of the movie, because that was the question and we got the answer. It was Belle, right? Hunchback, who is the monster and who is the man, and that turns into what makes a monster and what makes a man at the end of Hunchback. So like, in theory, the question that they're asking is, what does good things grow mean? Like, what makes it prosperous? What makes society good, right? And you'd expect the movie to answer these attributes is what makes a place happy to live in, and like this is what community means. But like, I don't know if you agree with me, Hunter, but I strongly feel like Good Things Grow did not ask that question.
No,
it
it
didn't ask us to think about that
It's
theme
like an
at all.
essay that isn't really well, like, organized.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt like this is what probably happened. They were going, like, they're like, okay, we can't do Pocahontas, so what else are we gonna do?
Like, this is what they're stuck with.
What are we gonna do? Hunchback, that's down the line. I don't know how, we haven't figured out how we're gonna do Romani yet.
Yeah,
so
they haven't figured
They
it
pushed
out,
that
no.
one down the line. Let's do Snow White. That's like the classic. That is the preeminent Disney movie. Let's do it. How do we make this movie work? And like 6 different people had 6 different visions, and like a lot of films that are done by committee, you get a kind of jumbled mess without a clear vision and a clear point and a clear theme and a reason to exist. This is mediocre in the same way that like The Beauty and the Beast was mediocre. Or that the Aladdin remake was mediocre.
But at least that had the foundation of
At least
the
it
good
had a better
songs
foundation.
To like carry it.
They
you know what I
recognized
mean?
that Snow White does not work in the same way in our modern age, so they have to change it too much, and in doing that, you kind of made it a mess.
Yeah.
It's a big fat nothing that they lost probably like $300 million on.
I'll add to that too, is that Rachel has been under attack by right-wing, bigoted grifters who make video after video about how Disney has gone woke. And so, at the last minute, they tried to clean up like the movie so that they could get the right-wing conservative audience back, who they already alienated and should be alienated, by the way. But what they did to people like me that like musicals and don't have problems with the fairy tales being retold, who is not in that conservative bigoted group, is that they add stuff like Jonathan, which makes it not woke enough. So one side is crying that it's too woke because Snow White isn't like porcelain white, but then I'm like, well, no, this isn't woke enough because you have this asshole man.
Because you have like you try to do the like kind of BuzzFeed feminism thing that's been prevalent in a lot of these movies, and you fail,
it, right?
And this kind of just makes for a worse film.
So
I still need to see the movie, and I think we are going to see the movie, but from like this first
impression. But a soundtrack
impression,
should be able to, because that's the experience of musical theater for 99% of fans. You don't get to go to New York.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you live in a city like Toronto, which gets like Broadway, touring plays, right? So for the majority of people, I listened to a lot of Disney musicals, mostly like the newer ones, before I watched them because I never went to go see Moana. Like, I could understand the entire plot of Moana just through the Moana soundtrack. You know what I mean? And so, even though I understand what you're saying, Hunter, well, like, the movie may give us, but, like, it can't fix the song themselves not having the necessary context for the song to exist and be important. And so that's, like, Good things grow as an opening number needed, and these are the values that make someone good, and these are the values that make someone evil, and the movie will be exploring who has those values and who does not. And then by the end, it should be like, well, the queen was defeated because we all worked together and we were all good, right?
Yeah.
But the movie doesn't do that. They just talk about how nice the kingdom is and how fertile the land is, but they don't talk about, like, the human element. They don't have that, like, what makes a monster and what makes a man hunchback moment. You're not asking a question to the audience, and then a question doesn't get answered. And so I feel like that this is, like, where most problems happen with an opening number. I don't think you've ever seen The Swan Princess, have you? That
It was
opening
years
number
ago.
has a very strong,
Potentially.
like, thesis of, like,
Approaching 10 years ago.
what makes someone beautiful.
Yeah.
Because Derek only cares about how Odette looks, whereas Odette, I guess now has seen Derek become a man and thinks that he's a better prince now, but he's actually not. So the movie has that premise of like, well, what makes someone beautiful? What does beauty mean, right? But then it squanders that by like 10 minutes later having Odette be like, oh, Derek, you and I were meant to be, even though you said you only liked me for my looks 5 minutes ago. Like suddenly Odette gets kidnapped and she forgot how mad she was at Derek. Whereas they should have worked it in so there was an actual conflict of like, well, I don't care about him anyway because all he cared about was me being beautiful. He needs to earn my respect back or whatever. But the movie doesn't do that because they're trying to be a Disney movie without understanding how Disney works, and so she just sings a pop ballad about how much she loves him. That's where Swan Princess starts to get off the rails. This is like the opposite problem where I see what you wanted to say in terms of the thesis, in terms of the promise that you were making, like that traditional good versus evil struggle, but then you didn't establish what makes someone good versus someone evil. And yes, of course, like we know what being a good person means. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to spoon feed that to the audience per se, but Hunchback still at least asks the question so the audience can see it develop.
Because also there's the point of like Frollo is a judge or priest depending on the version of the book or story. And like he's then generally exalted by his social order, and he's a terrible person.
And so if you have people in love with the queen, but like their circumstances are shitty, you could have like driven that point further, that they're so dazzled by the queen's beauty that they don't realize that they're starving and their lives are shitty until she zapped all the life out of them and it's too late. So I get it. Like you don't need to be like, and being a good person means we're nice, but you do have to at least beg the question of like, well, how is this kingdom different than like a shitty monarchy where the people are struggling? How are the king and queen different? So like that's a first problem, is that our bookends, like you didn't even write the first chapter and the ending, you know, so that's not good. And that goes back into what you were saying in terms of production by committee, where Disney songwriters used to like get the script and retool the entire script with the writers and put the songs in, whereas Pasek and Paul are like just told we need an opening number, but you can't make a good musical off song go here. You just can't do it. Like it doesn't
Disney
make sense.
is working. Disney's kind of resting on their laurels.
Yeah.
They've been the biggest game in town, like for a very. And here's the thing: in the '80s, they kind of suffered, so they had to pull up their laces. So, and then from that, we get the Renaissance. I hope that this results in like them, you know, pulling up their laces and doing
like,
a better job.
Part of this is Pixar's fault because of the way that they work in-house. But, like, we can't blame Pixar for a live action, you know what I mean? We can blame it in terms of, like, the animated movies working that way because we know that Pixar was responsible, but there is no reason that a live-action movie needs to be produced this way. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, it's not like, because the thing with Pixar is that, so, the reason why Frozen and all that stuff turned out to be, like, such a mess like Frozen 2 was because they're animating and songwriting at the same time. That does not make any sense. Like, you can't make a good musical when you're writing the script and doing animation, but they want to do it all at the same time because I guess it saves money. But it doesn't save money because then they're redoing shit and the songwriters make 27 useless songs, right?
You also have a movie that loses, once again, over $300 million. It would have been cheaper for everyone.
Frozen 2 was still successful, but like in this context, right? At least I understand why they thought that it may be a good idea to start all those things at the same time. But like with a movie, you don't need to start shooting before you get the script. Like it's not like animation where you're making the models and shit. And so like there's no excuse for things to have turned out song go here? And I think that that's the through line, and the problem with all the songs is like, waiting on a wish, sure it's pretty, but like, did it go somewhere? No, like, where she's still in the exact same situation she was at the beginning. She doesn't make an emotional choice. Like, at least Ariel is like, this isn't a childish fascination. I would give up something to be human. We learn that, but we don't learn about like, she's not willing to sacrifice anything. She's not willing to do anything. She sits there and she's sad. All is fair. Same thing. Princess Problems, egregious example of a conflictless song.
That was really bad.
That was like, I think legitimately that's the most.
It's not a bad
it's the worst one.
Song out of context.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in context, it is just like kind of inexcusable. Like, why do you think that works?
Yeah, like you wasted our time.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And like, I feel like every song to varying degrees is a bit of a waste of time. At least I can look forward to, like, again, I keep saying Anna Pantsu covering All Is Fair. Like, I can look forward to that in my life. There is, like, no redeemable quality for Princess Problems. Even A Hand Meets a Hand is like, okay, I guess they fell in love, but, like, I feel like that was unearned. We have payoff, but we have no progress.
It's almost like they thought that by adding detail, they would make it fleshed out to make the romance more realistic. And by doing that, they made this guy a dick.
Yeah,
and they
but
made
you
the romance awful.
Like, Robin Hood and had him be nice, and they could have gotten to know each other.
The
but they didn't.
The like falling in love with a boy you just met is silly.
Sure.
This is like bad.
Well, that's what the argument I made.
And the silliness has bad connotations. Like, what does that say about the female characters that are just waiting around for a man to show up and like give them everything they wanted? That's an issue. I understand that.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
this
still
isn't
have
much
problems
better.
with people saying that, but like, here's my thing then. Okay,
Yes.
if that's true, like,
Sure.
oh, we're sending a bad message to young girls because Snow White is waiting around for the prince to show up. Then why are we not concerned with the message that we are sending to young boys and girls about what type of men that they should want when we're just surrounded by these men that either need to be babysat or shuffled out of the plot like Kristoff in Frozen 2, or these guys that are just assholes? And I know, like, Moana's not a romance,
I think both
right?
of those things
but, like,
are true.
even Maui is an insufferable character that Moana needs to babysit in Peter Pan. At least, like, I think that women are smarter than people give them credit for, in the sense of like, yeah, of course you're not gonna marry this guy you first met,
that and
right? And the idea of the reason why it's romantic is because you have this idea of magic in universe where true love is, you know, those AUs where it's like, oh, your soulmate's first words to you are written on your hand. Like, it operates in that vacuum of magic. So as long as you make sure to tell young girls, hey, this is just like a story, we're gonna be okay. Like, I was never like, and I'm gonna fall in love at first sight with someone because I watched a Disney movie.
It's also a bit,
but I may think that this is an acceptable way for a man to behave watching a Disney movie. Like, you know what I mean? As a child.
Because like, there's this, a lot of people believe in like the magic bullet idea of like, you see a thing, you want to do it. You see violence on screen, so you want to commit violence yourself.
Yeah.
That doesn't work like that, but it does inform people's worldviews.
Yeah.
You're not going to marry a man you just met.
No.
But you will maybe view yourself as having less agency in that.
I can
and
see
I think
what you're
that
saying.
here's the thing. You can argue that point, and I think it's fair to argue that point. I'm saying this isn't much better.
No, I think it's actually worse on all points, because at least the princes of the past were like kind and romantic and soft, but now you're sending the message to young boys that it's okay to like pick on the girl if you like them, like that classic, oh, we're pulling your pigtails, but also the girls that they have to settle. Like, it's not very girl boss for you to be married to this random bum, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's actually worse than what you're saying, because I know what you're saying, Hunter, but for me it's worse because at least they know to have standards. But this is like, women have no standards and the man is shitty, so it's a bad message on all sides, and that's what really like baffles me and pisses me off. I think it's much worse. Like, I don't think that they're two opposite ends of the same problem. This is like a much worse issue because it's teaching the men to behave badly when the princes in the past were gentlemen and they were nice, and the women to settle for like whatever the fuck this is,
If
right?
it makes you feel any better, no one saw this movie, so
I guess
the bad
so.
messages are not really being perpetuated
Can I
into
just
the
go
audience.
off, because this video is gonna be long anyway, so I kind of don't care anymore. Like,
Fair
it
enough.
is whatever it is. So the people are simping for him. I've seen fan cans of him. Like, the movie's not out yet, but people have pirated the movie just to fan cam this man.
You know what
I'm
it
like,
is?
get off the fucking ground, you guys. The actor's not even that attractive, but like, I'm just baffled because I don't know. I know fiction, whatever. People
Also, you have to
stuff
remember.
that they like and
you
whatever,
have to
but,
remember
like,
that, like, I like, okay, a teenage girl is doing that, and you have to allow teenage girls to like have one or two things that are bullshit and
but
like
I don't know.
creepy. Listen, I know where your skeletons are buried.
I know
the male
but I'm
characters
just
you
saying,
liked as a
I
teenager.
also liked Quasimodo and the Princes, though. So
Yeah, but
did
you
I
liked
like
the
some toxic?
you
men?
liked light.
Yeah,
Willing
but
to let
Lelouch's
that
a
one.
gentleman. He never did anything like this. I'm just saying.
All I'm saying is that, like, you're right. I don't know. At the end of the day, we're gonna, like, the conclusion we're gonna come to was this is not terrible, but bad, and the type of thing that, like, you would watch once and then never think to watch again. It is wholly, it is like all the charmlessness and tedium of all the other remakes without the solid base.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point, too, because Snow White didn't have an opening number, right? We didn't have traditional musical structure back when Snow White existed, you know what I mean? Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, they sort of enforced the structure, if you want to call it that. So I think that you're probably right, Hunter, that's the only reason why the other movies got away with it, because they already had the foundation
base,
for them.
Yeah.
But
a lot of, like, because, like, Snow White's songs are not, like, iconic to people.
I mean, I think that they're
the movie's
iconic,
iconic,
but not in a widespread,
but like, here's the thing. If you ask someone to sing all of I Can Show You the World, they could probably...
Whole New World?
Or sorry, A Whole New World. Maybe I misproved my point right there.
Yeah, maybe you did.
But, like, okay, but I remember the lyric. I don't remember
know
the
what
name.
you're saying,
you
right?
could probably sing that song better than you could
like,
sing all of...
Where do you get in
Heigh-Ho.
the mass appeal, basically?
Yeah.
Like, you need that hook for the mass.
Because also, most of the other older Disney films, like, they remade... Other than Jungle Book that went into theaters, like, they remade The Lady and the Tramp, and it was on Disney+.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I don't know.
They remade... Oh, there was another Dumbo.
Pinocchio. Dumbo.
Yeah, Dumbo. Dumbo was in
Pinocchio,
theaters,
both of
but Dumbo was pretty bad, and Dumbo's also not a musical.
Yeah. Well, this is like, that's what I said in one of my other Snow White videos, is that I don't want to say that they were hung out to dry here, but like, they kind of were, because when you think about Maleficent, they made a choice to like run away from the problems, and they didn't have to aggress it.
They really swung to it. Like, they decided to be like, we're not doing this. We're doing the Wicked to the Wizard of Oz.
I mean, even Cinderella, though. Cinderella, they like kind of ran away from the problem of needing, we need a singer who sings in a transatlantic accent, right? And so Cinderella and Maleficent, because of the changes they made, had the excuse to like run as far away from musical theater as possible and only kind of reference some of the more iconic songs like Once Upon a Dream and Passing, right? Whereas with this movie, for some reason, and I kind of don't know why, because they could have done a Snow White and the Huntsman situation, but anyway, with this movie, which has the most hardest music to adapt, I would say, compared to Cinderella, they decided this is the one where we're not gonna run away from it being a musical, and I'm confused, because as much as I want more musicals, if this is how they're gonna turn out, no, I don't actually. Like, why didn't they run away from the idea of it being a musical like they did with Cinderella and Maleficent? Was it because they realized that Cinderella and Maleficent fell out of the public consciousness, and so they wanted songs to continue? Because songs are basically eternal marketing, you know what I mean? People listen to them and they're fond of them after the movie's over. So, like, a theory I've had is that that's why they still feel pressured to make musicals, because they realized, Cinderella and Maleficent kind of just, they went out with a whimper, because unless you're watching the whole movie again, you're not really reminded of it constantly. So they wanted something that constantly reminded you of Snow White, just like you can listen to Out There every day, like I do, right? And so I guess that's the answer, but I'm like, at that point, you're just forcing it to be a musical, and I don't think anyone who was working on this movie actually wanted to make a musical. Like, I don't get that feeling at all. I don't think Pasek and Paul had a good time. I think they were in there to secure the bag.
People wanted, I don't think that the Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and these things were good, but I could at least presume that people wanted to do them.
Yeah.
Right? With Snow White, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. No one really felt the need to remake Snow White. They did it because they can't do Pocahontas yet.
Well,
and because
you think that there's gonna be a time where they're
gonna
manage?
be a day
oh, God,
where Bob
or
whoever is sweating looking at the script for live action
I
Pocahontas
don't
and
think
says,
that they could.
we've, like, Disney Plus hasn't made, like, a profit since we've started it.
Oh my God.
Like, Disney parks are going down. We need a Hail Mary. Right?
Unless they
haven't
take
done
out all of the music,
They
and that's the
haven't
only
done,
reason why people like it.
Hercules.
Like that.
They're gonna do
Yeah,
Hercules next.
That's fine. Hercules kinda. Well, here's the thing. Hercules needs the help, but do we want them to attempt it? Is the question, right? I don't know. Maybe we'll do another video about this in the future because, like, this is getting
watch the movie.
really. Oh no, not about that. Do you think that Tangled and Hercules may end up better because
and Moana,
Alan
they're making
Menken
a
is
live
still
action.
like alive? Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
Alan Menken and the original songwriting teams could come back in theory. So do you think that they'll end up like Tangled and Hercules? But apparently Tangled's been paused. Tangled was originally supposed to happen and then they paused it. So
Well, famously, Tangled had, like, the original had a troubled schedule, and this one
Right,
has a
right.
troubled schedule. I don't know. The movie, it's the music isn't good. And at the end of the day, like, you can make... That's the thing that always kills me when people talk about movies, especially when they talk about, like, behind-the-scenes production of the movie. It's like, oh, this movie failed because people don't like Rachel Zegler, or this movie failed because
Yeah.
of X reason. That has nothing to do with the fact that the movie just wasn't very good.
yeah, and I think you
And
kind of hit
obviously-
on it too,
and-
Hunter.
yeah.
Like, musicals are something you really have to want to make as opposed to a regular movie. You know what I mean? Because not only do they cost more money, but musical theater is such a sincere medium compared to like film or something like that. And it's not to say that film can't be sincere, but like you get away with a character singing their feelings to you. In any other circumstance, if like during a Star Wars movie, Han Solo was like, and here's my tragic backstory, and just stared at you barrel down the camera,
Here's the thing,
that
though,
would be cringy.
is that Disney basically did do that, and it lost them a lot of
Well,
money.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying, right? So, like, there are things that are not appropriate in a regular blockbuster
Yeah.
movie that are made possible by musical theater because we suspend our disbelief, we understand, we can tolerate the idea of a little corniness, if that makes sense,
Sure.
right? And so, like,
Different mediums,
you
yeah.
need to be corny, right? And so you can't be like, well, we're gonna make Snow White cool. That's not the mission.
Yeah.
The mission is not to make Snow White cool for the kids. It's to make something that resonates sincerely with the theater people. And I don't feel a lot of sincerity. Like, the closest I got to was maybe when Rachel was singing. But in terms of the actual songwriting, I feel like maybe Princess Problems was something sincerely that Pasek and Paul had in their heart. That feels sincere, but in the worst possible way,
Yeah.
where they, like, wanted to let it rip, and I'm like, oh,
I don't
guys,
know.
you are
If
not...
the original Snow White is an iconic film that brought, like, Disney into, like, the heights of filmmaking, and it, you know, I think it won an Oscar. It was the first to be, like...
Yeah.
I think it did win an Oscar. It was the first animated film to be nominated for an Oscar. It's this really important film in, like, American history. It was feature length. It's iconic. If that film represents Disney then as, like, we can only go up, we're brilliant, we're the Rolls Royce of animation. This movie and these songs are Disney now, which is a bloated, messy, aimless IP regurgitation machine. And that is really sad. And I only kind of think it's gonna get worse from here.
I hope not. I really hope they need to understand what the... Like, there's been too many issues for them not to know. If I can tell you what the problem is, it's obvious at this point.
If
And,
I can
know,
tell you what the problem is, you're fucked.
Yeah, basically, right? Because if the common denominator here is writing the script without the songwriters, that is
Yeah.
what every single movie, except for, I guess, but the thing is that in Canto, we got reports that, like, they didn't listen to Lin-Manuel Miranda at first, but then Lin, like, basically had to beg them to listen to him, right? So Encanto may be the exception, but with every other Disney modern animated movie that has, like, you know, Moana 2 and Wish and, like, all of that stuff, the common denominator is that you wrote the script and you're just telling the songwriters what to do when the songwriters need to, like, emotionally have an attachment to what's going on. They have to want to tell the story. Like, that's why The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin turned out the way that they did, was because Howard Ashman came from a very personal place in all of them, right? Like, Little Mermaid, it's the outcast and stuff, and, like, the fact that it was a queer allegory, like even the novel, or the literary fairy tale, right? Beauty and the Beast, that was a metaphor for AIDS for him. I made this like mistake once in my life, and like now,
Gal
you know,
Gadot
not
isn't
gay
gay?
enough. Right?
Gal Gadot isn't gay enough in this, and I think, frankly, the whole
Pasek
joint
and Paul gay? I don't know.
lacks a
And then
homosexuality.
Aladdin, before it got revised, was supposed to be about how like Howard Ashman felt he disappointed his parents and like all that stuff. But then Aladdin got reworked and the mom wasn't there and whatever. But Aladdin still turned out
works,
okay.
yeah.
It eventually like figured out what it was trying
But
to
it's
to
also
do,
this
right?
kind of classical sort of being something you're not, which
Yeah.
I'm sure a gay person can relate to that.
Right. Well, because like Howard Ashman died during production, so they had to kind of pick up with whatever they had, right? So you have just that essence of like there was a personal reason why he wanted to get involved, whereas like I have to, again, I don't know Pasek and Paul personally. I'm not trying to say that they have bad intentions or something, but I do need to wonder why they were like, oh yes, this is the thing that I feel so passionate about in my heart. Like, I just kind of don't believe you.
It was a
You know what I
check.
mean? Like,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it was just a check, whereas Lynn
It
has
was
like
steady work.
personal feelings
The
with
economy's
Encanto,
not
you know?
great, you know?
Like, so that's, I think, the problem
Yeah.
is that everyone needs to be wanting to make something. Yes, obviously we make things so those things make money, but there is a middle ground. I love doing things for money, but I also care a lot about that. You need to find the people that are interested in doing both things at the same time. And even when Disney was on the verge of bankruptcy, yes, they knew they had to make money, but they didn't let that idea squander the creativity. They thought that the creativity would have facilitated the money, right? And so that becomes the frustrating part, is that I get it. I get that movies are kind of just products and Disney has no obligation to make art or whatever bullshit, but at the same time, I think that most of the time good art from a big company automatically leads to money. Like, sure, if you're an independent person and people don't know you, you can't always take that risk, and there's a lot of good movies that didn't get their flowers or whatever, but like the idea that Disney couldn't get their flowers if they made something good is an impossible statement. It doesn't exist. They should feel more comfortable than ever to embrace a creative angle that hasn't been seen
I don't
before.
know.
There is no point to complacency if complacency is losing you money.
But my thing is that, like, these remakes are already so cynical that, like...
Yeah, I
know.
guess that's true. And that's the other problem. Again, no sincerity, but I think that we've talked long enough, but I hope that you guys enjoyed us yapping, because that's basically what this has been. You have nothing else, I'm assuming you're tired out.
I would like to formally apologize to Rachel Zegler.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't
Girl.
do anything wrong, but...
Yeah, but it's like
On
it's like
behalf
when
of
someone's like, "Oh, my
mankind."
grandfather passed." You're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's like, "Well, you didn't kill him.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, make this movie, but I still feel bad for her."
Oh, I feel bad for her, too. Not Gal Gadot, though. She deserves
I decidedly,
it.
Gal Gadot's like
With
this
all
kind
the
of.
wine to fill the...
I saw that movie in theater. I was sitting there, I'm like, God, I know she dies. Please.
What, Wonder Woman?
No. All the wine from Phil the Nile is from Death on the Nile.
Oh, I thought that
Which is
was
it-
from Wonder Woman
No,
and they were
no,
just
no,
having
no.
a fancy party
No,
or
the
something.
Wonder Woman 2 is much worse than that
Oh, God.
movie. Wonder Woman 2 would cause you, like, emotional
Well,
damage.
anyway, so I guess we're done. Thank you guys for caring too much if you got this far and listening to Hunter and I talk completely unhinged for a very long time. Bye, everybody!